Hundreds of years ago, a mysterious rift tore open in the skies above Earth, unleashing swarms of dimensional beasts that ravaged the planet and drove humanity to the edge of extinction. Only those blessed with awakened talents could stand against them. Among the survivors is Yayan, an orphan living with his younger sister, the only family he has left. Unfortunately, Yeti possesses one of the weakest talents imaginable, leaving him plagued by doubt about whether he can protect the person he cares for most. But everything changes the day he gets zapped by this creepy energy in his dreams. And upon waking up, he finds a strange notification before his eyes. An otherworldly system prompt granting him the ability to copy his sister's talent. From that moment on, Yetin holds the power to rewrite his destiny. For his new gift allows him to copy any talent he desires. Meanwhile, that pig-tailed cutie proudly shows off the dish she made for him, braised pork, his favorite. Grateful for the meal and the warmth of home, Yeti can't help but smile. The power of talent copying is miraculous, but there's no way he's going to test it on his little sister. Still, he notices her base talent is way better than his own weak Tier 1. Yeyu's frost talent is extremely rare, and once it awakens, he's sure she'll absolutely dominate her opponents. He silently hopes their parents can rest easy now. Later, Yayan throws on a hoodie and heads out for a walk, ready to test his new ability. Activating his talent sensor, he finds the range is only about 3 for now. In a crowd full of low-tier talents, that tiny radius feels frustrating. He's hoping to spot at least a mid-tier talent, but all he's picking up are unimpressive ones. Still, he's also considering checking out the academy soon. Even if he awakened with a low-tier talent, this copying ability might completely change the game for him. One thing's for sure. Yen is set on joining an academy that doesn't judge students based on talent evaluations. That thought sparks an idea, and he decides to apply to Linhai Best 5th Academy. As he walks toward the campus, he sees plenty of students with mid-tier talents passing by, all belonging to this very academy. But Yeti doesn't feel discouraged. Deep down, he's confident that his copy talent will take him to heights they haven't even dreamed of achieving. He knows he's going to get stronger. Way stronger in the days to come. 10 days later at Linhai Base 5th Academy inside Martial Stadium No. 3, an instructor is giving a lecture on the path to becoming a martial warrior. He explains that the journey begins by first becoming a martial apprentice, laying the foundation for everything that comes next. But becoming a martial apprentice only begins by first learning the body training technique. From this point on, the instructor is ready to teach them that very technique. He tells the group that the key lies in forming an air vortex right in front of their chest, a sign that they've successfully grasped the basics of body training. Everyone gets into their poses, trying their best to follow his lead. Most of the students either faint, limp, or collapse in frustration, struggling to even activate their energy. But Yeti doesn't even flinch. One of the students suddenly shouts in panic that someone's passed out. But the instructor doesn't even blink. He sternly tells them to ignore the weak ones. There's no room for losers here. The only thing he demands from them is to create an air vortex, because without that, there's zero chance of becoming a martial warrior. Meanwhile, Yachen is quietly battling his own crisis. He's doing everything right, but nothing's happening. Not even a breeze. Frustration builds inside him as he curses his low-tier talent, blaming it for his failure to produce even a puff of air. Just as the instructor's patience wears thin, he snaps and calls this class the worst he's ever taught. Everyone's collapsed on the ground. Everyone except Yeti, who's still standing, even if barely. The instructor scoffs and says he hopes these losers start following the example of Chen Dong and crank up their motivation instead of acting like a bunch of lazy idiots. Later, Yetin turns to Zhang Bao and asks who this Chenong guy is. Zhang grins and spills the details. Chenong is the real deal, not your average student. It took him only half a month to earn his spot as a martial apprentice, and he was so impressive that even the principal took him in for personal discipline. Yet figures Chandong must have a way higher tier talent. Then Zhang proudly shows off Chendong's autograph, saying that when Chenong hits the top, that signature alone could pay his rent for a few months. Yiten is left speechless while Pigface stands there puffing out his chest with pride. Suddenly, a wave of excitement breaks out as every student around starts jumping with joy, thrilled to see Chendong walking this way. Now, the whole crowd is dying for his autograph, and Zhong bolts ahead at full speed, ready to shove everyone out of the way just to score another one. Meanwhile, Yatan is checking out Chendong, who's kind of a big deal around here with a solid mid-tier ranking. Chendong tells everyone he is there to encourage them on behalf of their teacher, and has no intention of becoming a laughingstock in front of his friends. Yayen, playing it smart, insisted on shaking his hand, which made the crowd go wild. Janang races to snag the first handshake, and the rest of the crowd rushes in behind him until it's finally Yayen's turn. The guy's got his own little game running. He reaches out, seals the handshake, and Dong casually wishes him good luck. That's when it clicks for Yeti. Later on, he stands in front of the status window that reads, "Mid-tier talent copied, and it's ready to fuse." Now, even the Talent Reaper isn't sure how this fusion is going to turn out. The guy still isn't sure why he was zapped by thunder from the inside out before, but he pushes that thought aside to focus on what's in front of him. He goes ahead and selects the fusion option. The moment he does, a sharp pain shoots through his chest, like someone shoving his heart straight into a meat grinder. Now, this skill thief's brain feels like it's melting, finally realizing that stealing isn't as easy as it sounds. The guy's down on the floor, barely holding on. After a while, the status window lights up, confirming that his cultivation talent has successfully upgraded to mid-tier. Painful as it was, the Reaper figures it's worth it, trading all that agony for a fresh start and a brand new version of himself. Also, the copy talent cooldown is just 30 days. He figures he can keep copying talents again once the time's up, which works out perfectly for him. Now, he shifts gears to try out the body training technique. After getting into position, he gives it another go, and right in front of his eyes, a tiny tornado starts to form. Everything flows so smoothly now that he's rocking a mid-tier talent. With this, he starts to see the bigger picture, and becoming an elite martial warrior doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. In fact, reaching the level of a great martial warrior actually feels possible. A month later, under the light of the moon, a vicious wolf is leaping from rooftop to rooftop. At the same time, a father and daughter are out making dinner plans. Meanwhile, Yayen is now a martial apprentice with a long road ahead before he can call himself a true martial warrior. With Chendong getting personal training from the principal, Yayan figures that guy must be leveling up way faster than he is. In the blink of an eye, the lantern the father is carrying crashes to the ground as the savage wolf pounces on him and kills him instantly. The little girl's cry cuts straight through the silence, and Yeti freezes, his face turning pale at the brutal sight. All of a sudden, panic erupts as everyone realizes there's a monster in their midst. Shouts fill the air, people screaming for everyone to run, their voices shaking with fear after witnessing it kill someone. It's Yeti's first time seeing a monster up close. Just as the creature closes in on the little girl, Yayen musters the courage to pull her out of the way, the wolf hot on their heels. Terror grips him as he realizes the beast is too fast, giving them barely any time to escape. Right then, a heroic figure bursts onto the scene, slamming into the wolf from behind and cracking the road beneath them. The silver moon wolf spins around, snarling at the figure who dared to interrupt its hunt. Standing there is none other than the famous Captain Gale Wolf, apologizing for showing up late. He orders Yayen to keep the girl safe while he handles the beast. As Yayen catches his breath and holds the girl close, Gale Wolf stands tall, ready to put on a show. Just as the hero clashes with the fearsome wolf, Yayen quickly covers the little girl's eyes, shielding her from the brutal scene. Gale Wolf, locked in combat, instantly senses the raw power packed into the beast, like it's no ordinary monster. Even after tossing it aside like trash, he can tell its speed is nothing to take lightly. But with a smirk, he reminds the overgrown puppy that he's not fighting alone. Right then, 3 of his teammates drop out of the sky like thunder, landing beside him, ready to finish what he started. As Gale Wolf makes his move, his teammates charge in to back him up, striking the beast deep with their blades. For a moment, they wonder if the pup's finally down for good. But then, the monster lets out a bone-chilling scream, a red aura oozing from its body like steam off boiling blood. One look and the guy knows what's coming. It's entering bloodburst mode. He warns the others to stay sharp because things are about to get a whole lot worse. One of his lackeys rushes over to check on the captain, who's holding up just fine for now. But then they all spot Wolfie trying to make a break for it, slipping into the shadows. Gale Wolf narrows his eyes, already on the move. There's no way he's letting this pup walk out of here alive. Out of the blue, a surge of purple mana floods the air as a girl drops in right on time, her bow already drawn. Gale Wolf flashes a grin. He'd been waiting for this pretty archer to show up. Then she loses her arrow, and it whistles through the air, landing clean in the silver moon wolf's neck. Just like that, the beast collapses to the ground, dead on the spot. Gale Wolf laughs out loud, saying the beast is still way too weak to pick a fight with their squad. Another teammate throws a nod of praise to the girl, calling her sniping skills top tier. Meanwhile, Yachian quietly checks the monster status. The status window reveals the Silver Moon Wolf's traits: low-tier blood talent and novice-tier speed talent. Nothing too impressive on paper, but in the hands of a creature like this, still dangerous enough to throw unprepared fighters into chaos. Even the little girl is left wide-eyed, her jaw dropping at the brutal sight of the wolf's supposed death. But just as things start to settle, Yeti catches a subtle movement. One of the wolf's paws is twitching. Something's not right. While the lackey are cooling off, celebrating in their little victory bubble, and grumbling about how speed-type monsters are always a pain to deal with, they're already making drink plans like it's all over. That's when Gale Wolf's instincts kick in. He senses it. Something's off. Without wasting a second, he calls out to everyone that the monster is still alive. In a burst of rage, the Silver Moon Wolf rises to its feet, howling with fury. Its eyes burn with pure hatred, refusing to go down easily. Monsters like this don't understand defeat. They're terrifying in their tenacity, fighting until the last breath. Gale Wolf's team stands ready, waiting for orders. But the captain steps forward. He tells them to stand down. This weak puppy is his to finish. Right then, the big guy turns to Yayen and warns him to clear out, saying the area is still dangerous, but Yayen's too spaced out to react. Gale Wolf shouts at him to get the heck out, but the Talent Reaper sees this as the perfect chance to give his power a real test drive. Without hesitation, he marches straight toward the beast. Ignoring every warning, he slams his fist into the Silver Moon Wolf. And in the next second, the status window pops up saying, "Talent copied." Yetin leaps back, only to land right on the wolf's body. The window keeps flashing over and over, repeating the same message. With both hands, this skill thief presses into the monster, sending shockwaves of energy through it, lighting the beast up from the inside. As he keeps copying its talents, Yayen starts to enjoy the slaughter, throwing punch after punch into the corpse. Finally, Gale Wolf steps in and snaps him out of it, reminding him that the beast's already long dead. Yayen, still gripping the wolf, knows for sure the creature is dead. But what matters most to him is that the talent has been successfully copied. Just then, Gale Wolf steps up and begins assigning cleanup duties to his team. He orders 3 of his subordinates to handle the removal of both the fallen man and the Silver Moon Wolf's corpse. While the archer is tasked with looking after the little girl, as they prepare to leave, Gale Wolf turns to Yayen and tells him he hopes to see him again as a member of his squad. Once Yayen reaches the rank of martial warrior, the thought fills Yayen with excitement, already looking forward to the day he's strong enough to earn that spot. Later, when he gets home, the first thing he does is wash the blood off his face, careful not to let his sister see any signs of what happened. If Yayu saw him like that, she'd probably worry herself sick. After cleaning up, he steps out of the bathroom and walks through the quiet house, only to find Yayu fast asleep on her bed, snoring softly like a baby. In her sleep, she mumbles, "Big bro!" and it brings a quiet smile to his face. Then, stepping outside into the calm night, Yeti finally lets the weight of the day settle in. It hits him that this is the first day he has ever faced a real monster. Not to mention, the beast wasn't just a little stronger, it was 100 times more powerful and terrifying than the monsters from the stories he grew up hearing. As he gently tucks Yayu in, Making sure she's warm and safe, a quiet resolve builds inside him. He knows he has to reach the status of martial warrior soon, because one day he might be the only one standing between his sister and a nightmare like that. Now his mind starts spinning with a wild thought, wondering if it's possible to merge monster talents into a human body. On the bed, he stares at the status window hovering in front of him, eyes locked on the details of the monster's talents. He knows deep down this fusion could be life-threatening, maybe even more painful than the last one, but the need to grow stronger burns brighter than any fear. If it means protecting the ones he holds dear, especially his sister, then he's ready to face whatever it takes, no matter how brutal the path gets. For the speed talent, Yeti braces himself. He shoves a cloth into his mouth, ready to bite down and endure whatever pain comes with it. As soon as he initiates the fusion process, the agony hits like a storm. It floods through his body, sharp and relentless, each wave feeling like his muscles and bones are being torn apart piece by piece. He grits his teeth, holding on as if his very being is on the verge of shattering. In the middle of this brutal fusion process, a sharp crack echoes through the room and his leg fractures instantly. The pain shoots up like fire. He stares at his leg, panic creeping in. He questions whether the talent copying failed. Doubt hits him hard, and for a second he wonders if pushing his limits was a mistake after all. His head spins and his body feels like it's slipping away. This skill thief knows he's done for. The thought of calling out to Yayu crosses his mind, but before he can even speak, the darkness swallows him whole. The next morning, he wakes with a jolt, heart pounding, still shaken to the core. The first thing he does is check his leg and sees no fractures or bruises. Everything looks perfectly fine. He has no idea what happened during the night, but whatever it was, it gave him a serious upgrade. His body feels lighter. He quickly pulls up the status window. It confirms everything. Yayen, holding a mid-tier cultivation talent, now also has a novice-tier speed talent. The talent copying was a success. Later, in a grove at the 5th Academy, Yayen is all smiles, bounding through the forest like Tarzan, jumping off trees and landing with ease. He's bursting with energy, feeling like a brand new version of himself. As he tests out his new talent, a single leaf drifts down through the air, and with perfect timing, Yeti catches it without even trying. No doubt the swiftness of a silver moonwolf is just awesome. After that, Yetian gets into a position to practice the body training technique. He figures his speed now might be on par with that of a martial warrior, but his overall strength is still seriously lacking. It would be great if he could find a way to boost his cultivation speed. Out of nowhere, Jing calls out to him, spotting Yatian training in the grove. He walks over, pats this talent reaper on the shoulder, and immediately notices the difference. Yeti feels solid now, like a pretty sturdy guy. Shang bets he's already broken through the martial apprentice stage. Then he gets bold and asks if Yeti's looking for a way to get even stronger, suggesting he tried drinking monster blood. This weirdo casually admits that he started improving way faster than before after doing it himself. At first, Yeti doesn't believe a word of it, but now he's genuinely shocked to hear that monster blood actually holds that much power. Yeti feels a bit bitter about missing the chance to get the silver moonwolf's blood when he had it right in front of him. But then the weirdo Zhang grins and says he might know a way to get his hands on some monster blood if Yan's interested. Of course, Yatin wouldn't mind hearing more. That's when Zhang spills the details. Apparently, the higher-ups at their Linhai base have opened a new wild zone just outside the city. It's been set up as an exam area for the 5 Majormies, and the prize for passing the exam is none other than monster blood. Yet asks about the danger level of this wild zone, and Zhang casually says it's pretty low. Most of the monsters have already been cleared out, except for a few leftover descendants, the weaker ones. Yayen figures it's worth a try. Zhang immediately tries to rope Yen into joining his squad for the exam. Yetin's face goes blank, practically frozen, like he's been hit with a facial paralysis spell, clearly having a hard time accepting the offer. Jinang whines that he only shared this top-secret info because they're good friends, yet apologizes but says he'll join up next time. Jen calls him cold-hearted for turning him down like that. But in truth, Yet he just finds teaming up too risky. His ability is still a secret, and revealing it could put everything at stake. He figures it's safer to handle things alone. This talent reaper is fired up and more determined than ever to break through, get his hands on that monster blood, and finally reach the rank of martial warrior. 1 month later at the 5th Academy's main office, the professor demands to know if someone leaked the intel since Tien signed up even without receiving the exam invitation. Hesitantly, Tien explains the situation. He's already a martial apprentice, so he's qualified enough to register. Frustrated, the professor tosses a life responsibility agreement at him. Even though he wants these kids to live a little longer, if Tien wants to take the exam, he has to sign it. Then, with a mix of anger and challenge, the professor tells him to get out if he's afraid to die. Sometime later, Tien steps out of the office with a slight smirk on his face. He's already signed the agreement. After he leaves, the professor scoffs, wondering if students really believe exams like this are meant for them. With a smirk of his own, he mutters that Tien will come to regret this. The next morning, Yayu wakes up and calls out for her brother, but the smell of delicious food pulls her toward the breakfast table where everything's already prepared. She finds a note from Tien saying he'll be back in 3 days because his school has an event. Reading it, Yayu wonders what kind of event takes that long and silently hopes for her brother's safety. When Tien arrives at the location, the students from the 5th Academy are buzzing with excitement. There are so many students from all 5 majormies. Meanwhile, Mo Xiao, flanked by his bodyguard from the 1st Academy, throws a disdainful glance at the 5th Academy students, calling them scum from the Garbage Academy. His bodyguard playfully suggests he should hunt the monsters and the humans too, just to wipe out the weaklings. Zhang Bao points at Mo Xiaobei and tells Tien that he's one of the strongest from the younger generation of the Mo family. Knowing how arrogant political families can be, Tien quickly figures out that Xiao is just another ego-driven guy. Suddenly, a guy with his sword still sheathed walks straight into the 1st Academy's camp, eyes locked on Mo Xiao with fierce determination. The students start yelling, demanding to know how he even got into their camp, but the guy, clearly angry, ignores them and challenges Xiao to come face him. He says he's here to chop him into pieces. Hearing that, Xiao just smirks, making it clear he's ready to beat this guy all over again. Tien, seeing them argue like that, gets curious and wants to know who the guy is. Being the gossip king he is, Zhang Bao tells him that the guy is Li Yunqing, a genius from the 2nd Academy who once got defeated by Mo Xiaobei. The professor of the 1st Academy snaps at the students to stop messing around, reminding them that these people are strong and not to be taken lightly. But Tien doesn't care and starts loudly cheering for Li Yuning. Li Yunqing looks confused and a little awkward, wondering who this random guy is and why he's cheering for him when they don't even know each other. Just then, the authorities find out that 2 rivals are about to fight, and an announcement goes out warning that anyone who starts a fight outside the wild zone will be disqualified from the exams. With no choice left, Li Yuning walks away from the 1st Academy's camp, but not before vowing that he won't let his rival go once they're inside the wild zone. Xiao just laughs and says nothing, clearly amused. On the other hand, Li Yunqing walks up to Tien, praising him for having the guts to cheer him on and asking for his name. When Tien introduces himself, he also takes the chance to observe Li Yunqing's talents, noticing that he has a low-tier cultivation talent and a mid-tier sword talent, which Tien finds pretty decent. Tien, extending his hand, offers a friendly gesture of support, encouraging Liuning to give it his all and aim to surpass Mo Xiaobei in the upcoming Wild Zone exam. Lai Yuning, surprised, shakes his hand and wishes him luck too. What Lai Yunqing doesn't know is that it was actually a clever move by Tion, who used the handshake to secretly copy Li Yuning's sword talent. The moment the announcement is made that the exam has started, the students from the 1st Academy are called to enter the Wild Zone. Without hesitation, they all rush in. Meanwhile, Lai Yuning heads off to find his team, annoyed that the students have to enter based on their academy's order. As soon as he leaves, Tien hurries to a hidden spot where he can safely fuse the copied talent. When he begins the fusion, a powerful surge of energy runs through his body, causing intense pain. Even though he's gone through this 2 or 3 times before, he's still not completely used to it, though he's getting better at handling the pain. Once the sword talent is fully fused, a strong electric wave bursts out around him. To test the new power, Tien slashes at the nearby trees that have been growing for years, and with a single strike, he cuts them down, leaving him stunned and amazed. His status window updates right after, now showing a mid-tier cultivation talent, a novice-tier speed talent, and a mid-tier sword talent. After a while, an announcement is made that the first formies have entered the Wild Zone, and finally, it's time for the 5th Academy. The students of the 5th Academy, including Zhang Bao and Tien, step forward with confidence, ready to face whatever comes next. Upon entering the Wild Zone, all the students scatter in different directions. Tien moves alone along a path, staying alert and cautious. Suddenly, he senses something trailing behind him. Without wasting a second, he spins around and sees a giant snake rushing toward him. Tien leaps high into the air and in the blink of an eye strikes the monster down with his sword. The snake crashes to the ground lifeless. As proof of his kill, Tien takes one of its eyeballs and earns his first point. After the fight, Tien realizes these beasts are relatively weak, but according to the exam rules, the more beasts a student kills, the higher their rank will be. Determined to reach the top, Tien makes up his mind to secure first place no matter what. The reward for the top scorer includes 3 mid-tier beast bloods and 100,000 UN, which is no small prize. Tien knows he has a long road ahead, and to earn these rewards, he must keep hunting. Using his speed talent, he starts jumping from one building to another, pushing forward to find more beasts. That's when he spots his friend Zhang trapped and surrounded by a horde of monsters. Zhang is frozen with fear, trembling and calling for help, completely unable to defend himself. As one of the flanged wolves lunges at him, Tien reacts instantly. He grabs a bow, fires an arrow, and kills the beast with precision. Zhang Bao's eyes go wide in shock when he sees Tien. Still terrified, Jung warns him not to engage with these monsters, saying Tien is also too weak to take on the deadly flanged wolves. Hearing this, a smirk appears on Tien's face, and with the combined force of his speed and sword talents, he moves like a blur around the beasts, slicing them in half within seconds. Once all the monsters are down, Tien stands calmly in the middle of their lifeless bodies, unfazed. Meanwhile, Zhang stands frozen, too stunned to say a word, struggling to believe what he just witnessed. Everything feels unreal to him. After finishing off the monsters, Tien uses his sword to pull out the fang of the flanged wolf, then glances at Zhang to see if he's okay with him keeping it. But Zhang has no say in it. Tien's the one who killed them, so it's only fair he keeps the reward. Noticing how exhausted Zhang looks, Tien asks if he's really planning to keep going in this condition, but Zhenang has already made up his mind. He's done with the exam, saying it's way too dangerous, and he's just lucky to have survived without getting hurt. All his teammates are badly injured, so his priority now is to get them out safely. Before Tien takes off again, Zhang warns him about a rumor going around, the presence of a pseudo-beast in the Wild Zone. Tien doesn't know anything about it. So, Zhang explains that he heard a group from the 1st Academy is hunting a giant spotted snake over 10 m long. It's not just any snake. It's a pseudo-beast, much stronger and rarer than the usual monsters. Taking it down is worth 500 points, which might be the highest score available. As soon as he hears that, Tien pressures Zhang into telling him the beast's location. Reluctantly, Zhang says it's in the southeast. Without wasting a moment, Tien darts off in that direction, knowing that if he manages to get those 500 points, first place will be his for sure. As Tien reaches the southeast, he spots students in 1st Academy uniforms lying injured or dead on the ground. He, scanning the area, notices a massive eruption taking place nearby. He follows the source and climbs onto a rooftop where he gets a clear view of a gigantic pseudo-beast wreaking havoc. Most of the 1st Academy students, including Mo Xiao, are engaged in battle with the monster, but it's obvious that the creature is completely out of control. Xiao is shouting orders, urging his team to bring the beast down and secure the 500 points. His bodyguard, closely observing the fight, notices that the beast is starting to tire and quickly informs Xiao Bei that now would be the perfect time to strike. Just as they prepare to move in, the pseudo-beast, overwhelmed with fury, lets out a thunderous roar that sends shockwaves tearing through the ground. Moha, hearing the roar, swiftly kicks off the ground, deciding to take care of the rest. With a wicked smirk on his face, he lunges forward to deliver the blow to the monster with his sword. The next second, he stabs the blade into the pseudo-beast's head, blood immediately splattering out of it. Instantly, he gets a powerful blow from the monster's tail, causing him to be knocked off the monster's head. Xiao has fallen on the ground near a building, causing a huge dent in the wall. A few seconds later, he raises his head, rejoicing evident on his face, since the 500 points are his now. The pseudo-beast has finally collapsed on the ground. Seeing this from the roof of a nearby building, Yetian regrets being late. Meanwhile, Moa walks towards his bodyguard, who is bowing down in respect and congratulating his master on scoring 500 points. Xiao, being arrogant as usual, claims to have first place in exams. Now, however, instantly the monster's skin color changes and it opens its bloodshot eyes. Without wasting a second, it rises from the ground, roaring loudly. The students freak out, but the monster's anger is doubled now. It is causing the students harm. Shia can't believe all his efforts ended up in vain. But before anyone can react further, the monster rises into the sky and escapes, leaving chaos and destruction behind. That's when Xiao realizes this wasn't just a pseudo-beast. It was a full-fledged monster. With that in mind, all the surviving students from the other Mis, along with Xiao and his team, decide to go after it. Monsters are worth a massive 1,000 points, and none of them are willing to let that kind of opportunity slip away, knowing their earlier attacks already weakened it. Xiao understands they need to catch it quickly before someone else finishes the job and claims the reward. If they don't, all their sacrifices and effort will mean nothing. Meanwhile, Yeti stands on the rooftop of a building, surrounded by a surge of powerful energy, a confident smile on his face. Thanks to the skills he copied, he knows he's faster than Xiao and the others, and he never expected a monster worth 1,000 points to show up so suddenly. Without wasting time, he decides to go Allen, pushing his speed and power to the limit. His aura flares stronger than ever, and with unwavering determination in his eyes, he launches himself into the sky. In just a few seconds, he covers a huge distance, racing to catch up and track down the monster. Sometime later, the massive monster crawls toward a crumbling rubbled building, leaving a trail of thick purplish mucus behind as it tries to hide. At that exact moment, Yeti arrives at the scene, landing smoothly on the ground. He quickly notices that the First Academy students haven't reached the area yet and spots the fresh mucus left by the monster. Without hesitation, he crouches down and touches it, trying to determine how recently the monster passed through. Following the trail, he moves toward the rubbled building and stops just outside, standing still as he senses the presence inside. A greedy smile spreads across his face at the thought of claiming 1,000 points all for himself. As Yayen carefully enters the building, he's immediately hit by the strong, pungent stench of the monster. Even though he knows it's close by, he walks forward without fear, his energy beginning to fill the space around him. As he scans the surroundings, his eyes suddenly widen in shock, and a drop of cold sweat runs down his forehead. Right in front of him is the massive monster, its mouth wide open as it drinks some kind of liquid dripping from the ceiling. The source is a strange, shiny stone, and the liquid falling from it is clearly not ordinary water, yet wastes no time and pulls his sword from its sheath, smirking at the thought of earning those 1,000 points first and dealing with the strange liquid later. With burning determination in his eyes, he charges straight at the monster, but the beast senses him and instantly reacts. It leaps high into the air with unexpected speed, catching Yayen off a guard. As Yayen tries to dodge, the monster slams its hand into the ground, sending out a powerful shock wave that throws him back hard. Still, he doesn't give up. He quickly grabs his bow and in the blink of an eye draws 3 arrows and fires them at the monster. 2 of them hit the creature straight in the eyes, and blood immediately spurts out as the beast howls in pain and agony. He, grasping his sword tightly, rushes towards the monster again and strikes at the monster. The intensity of that stab is so powerful that Yayen's hands are shivering from its intensity. Running down the monster's body, He cuts the flesh of the monster with his sword alternately. The monster, writhing in pain, splashes his blood everywhere. Before the huge monster collapses on the ground, Yetian has already jumped off its body. As soon as the battle is over, Yetian smiles wickedly with a sigh of relief, admitting that there was no way he could have killed it if Moa and his group didn't wear the monster down first. His focus then shifts towards the liquid, wondering what it is. Though towards him, it doesn't matter since a monster was after this. It must mean that it is some kind of treasure. Without putting any more logic, he collects the dropping liquid in his flask, deciding to examine it later. Additionally, Yeti removed one of the eyeballs of the monster with his sword, as proof that it had been killed. And since the blood of the heart of a monster is extremely valuable, he collected it too in another flask. As the drops filled the stone-filled half of the flask, Yeti thought it was more than enough. One last time, he looks at the stone on the ceiling. A thought comes into his mind to not let this thing be a center of attention for Mo Xia. So without any second thoughts, he quickly cuts off the rock hanging from the roof, putting it in the bag. With that, Yetian decides to leave, satisfied that with all these things, he will definitely be placed first. Meanwhile, sometime later, the students of the first academy arrive at the scene and find the monster lying dead. As they examine the body, panic quickly spreads among them after they discover that one of its eyeballs has been removed and its heart has been completely drained of blood. Moha's bodyguard is stunned by the sight and turns to his master, asking what they should do next, since all that's left is a lifeless corpse, which holds no real value anymore. Xiao's fists tremble with rage, and his teeth grind as his face flushes crimson with fury, demanding to know who dared to steal the 1,000-point trophy that was rightfully his. He swears to hunt down and destroy whoever took it, yet stays hidden in the same building, quietly watching the students from the first academy. Raindrops fall steadily, soaking him as he observes from above. That's when he notices the group leaving the building. One of the men suggests to Mo Xiao that whoever stole the points must have gone inside, prompting Xiao to order a full search of everyone they come across. He makes it clear that they must find the thief no matter what, and he won't let the person responsible get away so easily. Yan hears everything and realizes he needs to stay out of sight for a while, or risk being discovered. With that in mind, he leaps through the air, weaving between tall, half-ruined buildings, lost in thought. Sooner or later, all the students, including Moha, will know the truth. Once he submits the monster parts for point calculation at the end of the exam in 3 days, it will be clear that he was the one who defeated the monster worth 000 points. Until then, he decides to stay low and focus on getting even stronger. Just then, Yen spots a place that looks safer for shelter and lands there. He opens his bag and studies the monster's blood, wondering how much stronger he might become by drinking it. Without a second thought, he gulps it down. The taste is absolutely disgusting, but for Yayan, gaining strength to protect his sister is worth any price. As he thinks about her far away at her school, Yayu wonders how her brother is doing. Back with Yayan, a powerful surge of energy surrounds him, and his cultivation speed begins to rise almost 4 times faster than normal. That's when he realizes why Chenong and the others were growing stronger so quickly. With just 2.5 days left, he knows he must cultivate as hard as he can. 3 days later, the examiner from the academy starts recording everyone's points. Lai Yuning steps up confidently, a proud look on his face, and asks the examiner to announce his score. He has 195 points, which he considers a solid result. Many students are impressed, nodding in approval until Moha and his bodyguard arrive. With a smug grin, Xiao mocks the others for celebrating such low scores. Then, with a wicked smile, he hands his bag to the examiner. The entire arena erupts in chaos when the examiner announces his total 427 points. Lin Yunqing, filled with jealousy, accuses Mo Xiao of stealing points, but the other students are clearly impressed and begin congratulating him for having the highest score so far. However, Xia's expression darkens as he admits that the true highest score should be 1,000. Since no one else has shown up with that number, the examiner concludes that anyone who hasn't returned by now is most likely dead. And based on that, Mo Xiaobei should be awarded first place in the exam. Just as the decision seems final, a sound of footsteps echoes through the area, catching everyone's attention. The students and the examiner all turn toward the source, and from a distance, they spot a shadowy figure approaching. Curiosity fills the air as they watch closely, eager to find out who this mysterious student really is. The student turns out to be none other than Yanni. He walks up confidently to the examiner and hands over his bag, which contains the monster's eyeballs. The examiner, clearly stunned, loudly announces Yayan's score, 1,163, declaring him the top scorer in this year's practical exam. His rewards include 3 bottles of monster blood and 100,000 win in cash. Yet friends cheer for him with excitement, while Li Yunqing stands there in disbelief, wondering how this kid managed to pull off such a victory. Meanwhile, Moha grits his teeth, realizing he has been publicly overshadowed. What stings even more is finding out the person who beat him is from the 5th Academy. With quiet fury in his eyes, he signals his bodyguard to dig up everything there is to know about Yeti. Despite the tension, Zhongbao beams with pride, flexing in front of the 1st Academy students and bragging that his friend just did something legendary. On the other hand, the professor of the 5th Academy doesn't share the same joy. He looks concerned knowing Yatian has now offended a family as powerful as the Mo clan and fears that this victory might cost him his life. Later on, the top 3 participants, Yayan, Xiaobei, and Lin Yunqing, finish getting their photos taken, officially marking the end of the practical examination, followed by the prize distribution. As they stand together on the podium, Xiao throws a backhanded compliment at Yayan, praising him for having the guts to steal from him. But before the tension escalates, Lin Yuning steps in and defends Yayan, pointing out that just like Xiao, Yeti earned his points through his own skill. Still clinging to his pride, Xia claims he's the strongest, prompting Yayan to challenge him right then and there to a fight whenever he's ready, so they can settle who truly deserves that title. Yayan knows that once you're targeted by someone powerful or politically connected, there's no running away. The only option is to become strong enough that they won't dare challenge you again. Fast forward 3 days, Yeti finally returns home. Yayu immediately rushes to hug him and checks if he's hurt. She's relieved to see he's okay. Yianni then surprises her with a large sum of money, telling her it's for her education and living expenses. Their playful moment is interrupted when he pulls out a mysterious book, the Illustrated Book of Treasures. Yayu eagerly sits beside him as they flip through its pages together, and that's when Yadian spots an image of the very same stone he saw on the ceiling during his hunt. It's called the Terracore Elixir, a rare substance known to boost a person's natural talent for cultivation, though it only works for those with low or mid-level abilities. Interestingly, the book also mentions that even rarer termortial stones, which can enhance high talents as well, are sometimes found nearby. This makes Yan realize that the monster must have used the Terra or Elixir to grow stronger. And now he's accidentally taken this incredibly rare treasure without even knowing its true value. His thoughts are interrupted when Yayu hands him the Terra or Elixir, now stored in a small flask. But Yeti no longer needs it, so he simply smirks and tells Yayu to drink it instead, saying it's her turn to become stronger. Yayu is completely shocked. Both siblings are sitting in the lounge, but none of this makes sense to her. She refuses to drink the elixir, arguing that she hasn't even awakened her talent yet, and it might end up being wasted. When they check her status window, it shows cultivation talent as low tier and her first talent as novice tier, still unawakened. Since her talent is low tier, there should definitely be some improvement after drinking the Terra or Elixir, though Yayan has no idea how big that improvement might be. Still, Yayu suggests they sell it instead, saying that something this valuable would fetch a huge price. Ignoring what he calls her dumb suggestion, Yeti flips through the book again and learns that the location where the elixir was found might have also held a rare terrial stone. Realizing he destroyed the place, he starts to regret it. Now, if word gets out, Potential buyers might not believe he doesn't have the stone and could even come after him for it. Yayu is stunned, calling it a complete waste. Not wanting to waste the elixir too, Yeti quickly picks it up and before she can protest, opens her mouth and forces her to drink it. Yao grunts and coughs, but then a warm, comfortable feeling spreads through her. However, when they check her status again, her cultivation talent still shows as low tier, leaving Yayen wondering if the book might have been wrong. Yayu, feeling sleepy, decides to lie down and rest. Meanwhile, Yan chooses to wait a little longer, thinking maybe the elixir just hasn't taken effect yet. About an hour later, Yayu is fast asleep on the sofa while Yayan sits nearby at the table in the same lounge. Suddenly, strong waves of talent aura begin to radiate from Yayu. Yayen quickly checks her status window and is stunned to see her cultivation talent has jumped to mid-tier, an increase of 2 full tiers. With a mid-tier cultivation talent combined with her rare frost talent, Yetian is certain that Yayu has the potential to become a top-ranking martial warrior in the future. That realization sharpens his own determination. Thinking of Zhao, he silently dares him to bring it on because Yetian refuses to ever lose to him. Later, back in his room, Yeti is drinking the monster's blood again, which tastes worse than anything he's ever had. Worse than __ even. But to offset the horrible flavor, he munches on peanuts while wondering just how much this will improve his cultivation speed. To his surprise, the speed is now increasing at 8 times the normal rate. He's amazed at how effective mid-rank monster blood really is. If he had enough of it, he's confident he could break through to the martial warrior realm within a month. Unfortunately, he only has 2 bottles left, which leaves him wondering what his next move should be. 10 days later, deep in the woods of the 5th Academy, Yayen is calmly meditating, his powers quietly circulating when Zhang Bao comes rushing toward him in a panic. Out of breath and full of fear, Zhang tells him that Mo Xiaobei has gone into seclusion and is trying to break through to the martial warrior realm. Janong is shocked to see that Yayen doesn't even flinch. Instead of being worried, Yayen actually feels disappointed that Xiao hasn't challenged him yet. He already looked into Xia's talent and knows that his cultivation is mid-tier as well, so it'll likely take him about a month to make the breakthrough. Jen tries to make him see how serious this is, reminding him that Xiao comes from a wealthy and powerful family, and that just 3 bottles of monster blood won't be enough to beat someone like that. Getting dramatic, Zhang promises to collect Yan's corpse as a loyal friend, and even vows to take good care of Yayu. Tien completely ignores the nonsense and focuses on what he has left. Some low-rank monster blood and the blood from the monster's heart. With those, he'll probably reach the advanced martial apprentice rank, which is just one small step below the martial warrior realm. It might not be enough for a full breakthrough, but with his speed and sword talent, he's confident he can still go head-to-head with a real martial warrior. In another part of the world, at the Mo estate, the steel gates of the Grand Castle burst open, and from a distance, the shadow of a powerful figure emerges. It's none other than Mo Xiaobei. His bodyguard immediately bows in respect and congratulates him on successfully advancing to the martial warrior realm. Mo Xiaobei has undergone a complete transformation. A strong, commanding energy now surrounds him, and it's clear that things are about to get much tougher for Yayen than he ever anticipated. In the hall, Xiao is being attended to by the servants, looking calm and composed. Meanwhile, Moen, an elite martial warrior of the Linhai base's wealthy and prestigious Mo family and the father of Mo Xiao, enters the room. Moen is overjoyed that his son has completed his secluded training and praises him for successfully breaking through and becoming a full-fledged martial warrior. Xiao, now clearly stronger and more confident, assures his father that he will never bring dishonor to the Mo family name. When Moen tells him that the family's ancestor will personally reward him, Xiao immediately kneels, expressing heartfelt thanks to both his father and their ancestors for the guidance and support they've given him over the years. His father doesn't let him kneel long and gently urges him to eat and enjoy all his favorite food and drinks, specially prepared on his orders. As soon as Moen leaves, Xia's expression darkens. He turns to his bodyguard and demands to know if the task he assigned before going into seclusion has been completed. Without hesitation, The bodyguard informs him that Yetian has no parents, no family ties, and no political or influential backing, which means they can deal with him however Xiao wants. Hearing that his enemy has no protection or support, Xiao decides it's time to end the game, but he plans to do it in a far more entertaining way. Believing Yen to be weak, Xia orders his bodyguard to arrange his assassination. The bodyguard warns that committing murder in their territory could cause complications, but Xiaowei insists on doing it discreetly using a shadow assassin. Although the bodyguard hesitates, noting that hiring a shadow assassin would cost at least 1,000,000 yuan and might not be worth it. Xiao explains his reasoning. In Linhai Base, only a few powerful families hold control while everyone else lives like slaves. When poor commoners show signs of talent, the elite act quickly to eliminate them and maintain their grip on power. Meanwhile, deep in the forest of the 5th Academy, Yetian has been training for hours, his body surrounded by a strong aura. When he senses the rain approaching, he decides to head home. As he walks through the pouring rain, he suddenly feels a presence nearby and checks the status window. It's someone named Li Kun, possessing a shadow talent. Before Tian can fully process what's happening, Li Kun leaps from a nearby rooftop and attacks him with a sword. Tian narrowly dodges the strike and demands to know who he is. Layson grins with a sinister edge and makes it clear that he's there to kill him. Li Kun's eyes are bloodshot, and a red dagger is clenched between his teeth. His terrifying appearance sends Yeti's thoughts racing as he tries to make sense of the situation. At first, he suspects this could be an assassin sent by Mo Xiao, but that doesn't quite add up. Xiao is already strong enough to face him openly, so why would someone with that kind of power resort to a sneak attack? The confusion lingers in his mind, but he doesn't have time to dwell on it. Lion suddenly leaps high into the air, dagger pointed forward, ready to strike. Yayen quickly raises his sword to block the attack and then jumps back, only to realize that Li Kun has vanished. That's when he understands the nature of the shadow talent. It grants the ability to turn invisible. As Yayen turns around, Leon reappears right behind him, blade aimed at the back of his head, but thanks to his speed skill, Tien narrowly dodges the strike. The failed sneak attack frustrates Li Kun, who clearly didn't expect someone at Yayen's level to be this fast. Tien decides it's time to stop playing defense and flips the situation. With a wicked grin, he lunges forward and swings his weapon at Li Kun. But once again, the assassin disappears. This kind of talent would be difficult for an ordinary martial artist to handle. But against Yayen, tricks like these are completely useless. In the middle of a narrow alley, Yayen stands still, focused entirely on sensing his opponent. The moment he feels a shift in energy, he swiftly swings his sword, sending Li Kun's body flying through the air. Blood gushes from Leon's mouth as he crashes to the ground, stunned and disbelieving. He can't comprehend how Yayen, who isn't even an elite martial warrior, could see through his shadow talent. Driven by curiosity and desperation, he demands an explanation. But Yanni remains calm, slowly walking toward him, and instead of answering, turns the question back on him, saying that if Li Kun really wants to know, he must first reveal his own identity. Smirking, Leon tries to reach for his weapon and taunts that he'll only reveal the answer when Tien is taking his last breath. In a flash, he attacks again. Yayen leaps into the air to dodge the strike, and the moment his feet touch the ground, he launches forward with incredible speed, piercing his sword straight through Liun's body. Standing behind him, Yan demands once more to know who hired him. With a dying laugh, Li Kun praises Tion as the strongest martial artist he's ever fought. And with his final breath, he confesses that it was Moa Bei. Tien crouches beside the fallen body, reaching toward the streams of dark energy leaking out, and copies Liun's shadow talent. As the power transfers, a surge of energy rushes through Yan's body, and his status window confirms the successful copy. Now it shows a mid-tier cultivation talent and blade talent with both his speed and shadow talents ranked at the novice tier. Rain continues to pour from the sky with flashes of lightning cutting through the dark clouds as blood covers Li Kun's lifeless face. Instead of leaving him there, Yetian gathers nearby stones and buries the body beneath them. As he does, a thought crosses his mind that a person shouldn't live like a leaf. helplessly tossed around by the wind and rain. Walking away, he notices a single leaf drifting down, catches it in his hand, and silently promises himself that he will live not as the fallen leaf, but as the wind and the rain itself, strong, powerful, and unstoppable. Leaving the forest behind, Tien returns home just as heavy clouds continue to gather over the city. After a hot shower and drying off, he settles into the lounge, sinking into the sofa with a long sigh of relief. He's brought back everything that belonged to Li Kun, including his weapons. Picking up the twin blades, Tien immediately realizes they are primordial weapons, the kind that far outclass his own sword, which had broken during the fight. Liun's belongings also include a gold card worth 1 million yen and a silver card worth 100,000, making a total of 3.5 million yuan. Without a second thought, Tien slips the cards into his wallet, grinning at the idea of using the money Xiao spent to kill him for his own benefit. Among the items, he also finds a book titled Shadow Blade, a bronze-rank blade skill, and with a gleam in his eye, he adds it to his growing arsenal. Upon opening the book, Tien is thrilled to find exactly what he needs, knowing that blade skills can help him fully unleash the potential of his blade talent. Without wasting time, he heads to his bedroom, grinning as he slams the door shut and sits on the bed to begin learning. He opens the first chapter of the skill book, ready to dive into training, but reality suddenly strikes him. A wave of panic hits as he realizes Yayu isn't home yet. Fear creeps in, and Tien bolts back to the living room, his mind racing. If Moshe Bey had enough information to send an assassin after him, then it's possible Yayu is in danger too. Without a second thought, Tien leaps from the balcony, dashing from rooftop to rooftop, his heart pounding with worry as he prays for his sister's safety. When he arrives at a regular middle school in the downtown area, he lands in the schoolyard and starts searching frantically. Even though he knows this is an ordinary school where martial warriors aren't allowed to cause trouble or harm students, Tien isn't convinced that someone like Xiao Bei would care about rules. Suddenly, he feels something poke him in the back. A voice warns him not to move. Reacting instinctively, Tien spins around and prepares to counter, but stops cold when he sees it's his sister, Yayu, holding an umbrella and grinning. She casually explains that she was on cleanup duty after class and had stayed behind to tidy up the rooms, completely unaware of her brother's panic. Walking through the streets on their way back home, Yayu notices her brother completely soaked, barefoot, and without an umbrella. Concerned, she asks him what happened, but instead of telling her the truth, Tien brushes it off with a vague excuse. As they continue walking along the sidewalk, a sleek, black-tinted car idles by the roadside. Inside, Moha Bei sits silently, gritting his teeth in frustration, his eyes locked on Tian. He can't understand why his target is still alive and unharmed, and the sight of Yayan walking casually beside his sister only fuels his rage. On their way back home, the siblings stop by a sausage shop, and as soon as their order is ready, they enjoy the weather while strolling along the busy street. Tien casually asks Yayu what she'd like for dinner, mentioning that he'll be cooking tonight. After thinking for a moment, she requests his signature dish, boiled meat slices. Meanwhile, the same black-tinted car from earlier is still following them. But this time, Tien notices it and realizes they're being stalked. Without letting Yayu suspect anything, they safely return to their apartment, though Tien keeps an eye on the car still parked outside. Inside, Yayu calls him to help set the table for dinner. 3 days pass, the skies clear, but the stalking continues. Yayu is back in class, fully focused on her studies, while Tien watches over her from a nearby rooftop, determined to protect her. That same black-tinted car is parked outside her school, and the thought of his enemy targeting his sister fills him with anger. When the car finally drives away, Tien immediately decides to follow it, hoping it will lead him to some answers. Summoning magic around himself, Tien leaps swiftly from one building to another and arrives at the location where the black car has stopped near a construction site. Landing quietly on top of a construction crane for a better view, he watches as someone steps out of the car and walks into the building. When Tien gets a proper look, he immediately recognizes the man as his enemy. Inside the building, blood stains the floor as a bouncer mercilessly beats a man who lies there begging for mercy, saying he has no money to repay Xiao Bei, but promises to return it once he collects enough. He pleads desperately, asking Xiao to let him go. Sitting casually against the wall, Xia coldly threatens to double the debt if it's not paid today, reminding the man that borrowing his money comes at a heavy cost. The man kneels, explaining that the interest is unbearable, and he has elderly parents and children to care for, so he truly can't pay today. Before Xiao can respond, his main bodyguard walks in, and Xiao immediately demands news about the shadow assassin. The bodyguard reports that the assassin has disappeared, though he will try to reach him through another contact. Hearing this, Tian now has full confirmation that Xiao was behind the assassination attempt. Meanwhile, Xia's frustration boils over and he kicks the poor man until he dies. Showing no remorse, he orders one of his men to dispose of the body. He then asks his bodyguard if he has figured out how to deal with Tian's sister. Bowing his head slightly, the bodyguard informs him that he plans to hand the task to a friend who has just been released from prison. As Xia walks toward the bodyguard, his frustration boils over. He admits that trusting others was his mistake, and now he'll handle everything himself. Without another word, he throws a punch that knocks the bodyguard to the ground instantly, coldly calling it punishment for failing his duty. Seizing the moment, Tian summons his primordial weapon and launches himself forward to strike Xiao from behind. Just in time, Xiao turns around and for a split second, fear flashes across his face. A streak of the blade slices through the air. Although Xiao dodges slightly to the side, blood bursts from the cut as Tian's blade finds its mark. Tian stands firm, a wicked grin stretching across his face. The body hits the ground and the remaining guards gather around in shock, realizing their master has been killed. Frowning, Xiao's closest bodyguard assumes the killer used the shadow assassin's skill to hide the body and suspects it might be Li Kun. But after a brief moment of eerie silence, Yetian steps out from the shadows. His blades spread wide. As soon as they see him, most of the bodyguards flee in fear, leaving only the main one behind. He stands his ground and confronts Tian, demanding to know how he got the shadow talent. Tian doesn't answer and keeps walking toward him. The man yells louder, insisting he's looked into Tian's background and knows he's just low-tier trash. He demands again to know how someone like him could take down the young master with a single strike and where Li Kun is. Ignoring every word, Tian leaps into the air and slashes down with precision, slicing the man's throat with ease. Calmly, he wipes the blood from his blades using a handkerchief marked with the shadow assassin symbol and tosses it onto the bodies. Before walking away, he glances back and says coldly that he's not some clueless sheep they can slaughter. So they've only got themselves to blame for picking the wrong guy. 1 hour later, Moen and his team arrive at the scene, his eyes burning with rage and fury, focused only on finding the person responsible for his son's death. During the investigation, one of his men discovers the handkerchief Yetian had left behind, marked with the symbol of a shadow assassin. This confirms their suspicion that a shadow assassin was behind the deaths of Zhao and his men. Just then, Elder Mo, the Grand Elder of the Linhai Base's prestigious Mo family and one of its few great martial warriors, enters the site. Upon seeing him, Moen falls to his knees, sobbing and wailing over the loss of his son, the prodigy of the Mo family. In contrast, Elder Mo remains calm and composed, asking Moen to stand and speak properly. But Moen, overwhelmed by grief, continues crying, unable to compose himself. He mourns that his son had the potential to become a truly great martial warrior, perhaps the one who would have elevated their family to a new level of greatness. Struggling through his sorrow, he informs the Grand Elder that Xiao had just broken through to the martial warrior realm and recently attended his celebratory banquet, only to meet such a brutal end. The Grand Elder agrees that Xiao had immense potential and could have become the second great martial warrior in the family after him, acknowledging that this tragedy has completely shifted the course of their family's future. That being said, Moen hands the Grand Elder the handkerchief found at the crime scene, begging him not to let his son's murder go in vain and to avenge Xiao. As the Grand Elder examines the handkerchief, he immediately recognizes that it belongs to a shadow assassin and assumes that one of the families who hold grudges against them must be behind it, as only they would have the means and motive to discreetly hire such a dangerous killer to eliminate someone so influential. However, as he lifts the handkerchief for a closer look, his eyes narrow in surprise. He spots faint traces of iron fang, a detail that instantly startles him. Back at school, Zhang Bao is ranting to Tian about the strength of the Iron Fang base, which is evidently stronger than their Linhai base. He briefly explains that the Mo family's Grand Elder suspects there are families in the Linhai base secretly colluding with the Iron Fang base, possibly aiming to eliminate the younger generation's elites and then take over the entire Linhai base. Lowering his voice, Zhang Bao adds that he even heard Mo Xiao was killed right after breaking through to the martial warrior realm. Hearing this, Tian keeps a calm expression, hiding the grin that threatens to appear, relieved that no one is suspecting him of the crime. At the same time, Zhang calls Tian lucky for not getting killed, since Xiao had planned to take care of him once he became a martial warrior. Silently listening, Tian falls into thought, remembering that he was the one who planted Li Kun's handkerchief at the crime scene, the one marked with the word shadow, to steer suspicion away from himself. But he never expected the Grand Elder to find the Iron Fang base's symbol on that same piece of cloth. Now, Tian isn't sure if he accidentally exposed a hidden plot from Iron Fang, or if the old man is twisting things for his own political gain. The next morning at 4 o'clock, Tian wakes up and gets ready for training. Just as he's about to leave, his sister Yayu stops him, worried, and asking where he's going so early. Tian tells her he's heading to the Wild Zone to train. He needs to grow stronger as quickly as possible. Yayu frowns, upset that he just returned a few days ago and is already leaving again. Before he can step out, she runs up and hugs him from behind, and Tian gently promises that he'll be back soon. Upon arriving at the Wild Zone, Tian scans the area carefully. Rumors say that high-level monsters roam here, but with his current strength, he knows better than to venture too deep. For now, he sticks to the outer edge where the lower-level monsters lurk, playing it safe while still pushing himself to grow stronger. With a determined grin, Tian tells himself that this time he'll become a martial warrior no matter what. Just as he begins his hunt, the ground suddenly starts to shake, and panic flashes across his face as he wonders if it's an earthquake. But when he turns around, he spots the source. An armored ox with a weak-tier bloodline talent and a low-tier defense talent. Tian studies its status window and hums to himself, calmly analyzing the situation and wondering whether the monster has seen him. The answer comes quickly as the ox charges straight at him. Instead of dodging or retreating, Tian tosses his bag to the ground and lunges forward to meet it head-on. Leaping into the air, he summons his primordial dagger and strikes, but the monster activates its defense talent, creating a shield around itself that blocks the attack from all sides. The ox roars, sending out a powerful shockwave that blasts Tian backward and slams him into a nearby rock. Despite the hit, Tian stands up with a wicked smile, praising the monster's talent and declaring that it will soon be his. Holding both primordial daggers, he moves forward again with confidence, while the monster waits in place, roaring with intensity as it prepares for the next strike. The monster struck the ground with its hoof, its eyes burning with red fire as it opened its mouth and charged forward. Raising his dagger, Tian smirked and vowed to himself that he would make the low-tier defense talent his. Without hesitation, he lunged forward and leapt onto the ox's massive body. Once above its head, Tian recalled that most monsters tend to have the same weak spot. Gripping his weapons tightly, he drove the daggers into the protective field around the ox. He poured all his strength into breaking through, but the barrier held firm. Then his dagger struck the same point again, and a crack appeared in the shield, but the dagger shattered in the process. Tian hadn't expected a monster with a low-tier defense talent to be this tough. Just as he refocused on the ox, it swung its fist and sent him flying. Gritting his teeth, Tien tried to regain control, but he was hurled into a cluster of rocks, raising a cloud of dust around him. Still, he refused to give up. Clutching his other dagger, he stood up with even more determination to claim the talent. The more pain he felt, the more he desired the ability. Suddenly, a notification popped up in front of him, revealing that the talent copying cooldown was 16 days. Ignoring the detail for now, Tien picked up one of the broken daggers and reflected. Judging by its abilities, the armored ox should fall somewhere between the silver moonwolf and the viper. Since the ox had a large body, if he could pinpoint its weak spot and launch precise surprise attacks, he knew he still had a real shot at victory. Using the shadow talent, Tien darts forward, circling the monster several times. The tip of his dagger strikes the protective barrier repeatedly, but it still can't pierce through while the shadow talent is working in his favor, keeping the monster unaware of his attacks. His blade talent is proving useless against the solid defense shield. Frustration boils inside him as he struggles to find any weak spot. He starts to wonder if this defense talent has any gaps at all. But after a closer look, he notices something. The barrier appears noticeably thinner around the monster's butt. Scratching his cheek and a little unsure, Tien mutters to himself that maybe this is the weak point. Without wasting time, he activates his shadow talent and rushes in, aiming the dagger right at the spot. As soon as the blade pierces through, the monster lets out a thunderous roar, and within seconds its massive body collapses to the ground. A pool of mucus spreads beneath it as it lies there, cold and lifeless. Squinting with a smug look, Tien can't help but feel proud that his guess was right after all. Just as Tien had expected, once the monster was dead, the blade pierced through its body with ease, making him realize that no matter how much strength or capability someone has, death renders it all meaningless. He begins storing the monster's blood in several glass flasks, wiping the sweat from his forehead. As he finishes, noticing the ox's thick hide, he knows it will fetch a good price, so he also plans to take its eyes and testicles. However, the most valuable part is the pair of horns, and with a swift swing of his dagger, he cuts them clean off. Loading all the loot onto his back, Tien sets off in search of a quiet place to cultivate. Eventually, he finds a cave and settles there in peace. Taking a deep breath, he places the fresh monster blood beside his sister's peanuts, which he uses to mask the awful taste. Staring at the flasks, he plans to rely on them to push through to the martial warrior realm. Picking up one of the bottles, he gulps down the blood and quickly chews peanuts afterward. Instantly, a powerful wave of energy surrounds him, and his cultivation begins. 20 days later, inside the cave, Tien lets out a long breath, but then his eyes suddenly ignite with blue flames, and a piercing scream bursts from his mouth as lightning surges through the entire cave. The ground outside shakes from the aftershocks of his transformation. Two girls stand near the cave. One of them, wearing a red cloak, finds it amusing that someone would choose to break through to the martial warrior realm in such a barren and isolated place. Meanwhile, the other girl, dressed in a black cloak with the martial pavilion symbol on it, remains quiet, but offers a faint smile, clearly intrigued by what she's sensing. Back inside the cave, Tien feels a powerful surge of energy and instantly recognizes it as the martial warrior realm. His mind quickly shifts to the armored ox he defeated. Remembering that the talent copying cooldown was 16 days and realizing it has now been 20, he rushes back to the spot where he left the ox, hoping to copy its defense talent. However, upon arrival, he finds only the skeleton remains, making it impossible to copy the talent. Frustrated, he regrets cutting the monster into so many pieces. On the other side, the red-cloaked girl wonders if Tien might have been the one who killed the monster. The girl in black shakes her head and disagrees, pointing out that the creature had been dead for days, while Tien only just broke through to the martial warrior realm. She adds that it would have been impossible for a martial apprentice to defeat such a monster, but still quietly praises his courage for even daring to scavenge in such a dangerous mountain. Before heading back home, Tien takes off his clothes to go for a swim, having spent 20 days in the wild zone. Seeing this, both girls quickly freak out and, completely embarrassed, decide to leave. Later, at the Linhai base's martial marketplace, Tian explores the area and is impressed by how massive the market is. As he continues walking, he spots a shop in front of him called the Martial Pavilion, the same one the girls from earlier were associated with. The girl in the red cloak nudges her friend in the black cloak, pointing out that he's the guy they saw earlier. Feeling a strange sense of familiarity, Tien turns toward the girls, and when he locks eyes with the girl in black, something clicks. Shocked, he asks if she's Yao, his sister. When Tien calls out to the girl, mistaking her for his sister, he quickly gets embarrassed. But when he glances at her status window, his eyes widen in shock. This girl is an absolute genius. Her name is Yui Ling, and she possesses a high-tier cultivation talent, a mid-tier sword talent, and a low-tier speed talent. The girl in the red cloak, Xiao Yu, gets furious at Tien for calling her friend his sister, and for praising her despite being, in her words, a scanger. This leaves Tien confused, wondering if he still smells bad even after taking a bath. Wheeling calmly warns Xiao not to speak recklessly. Lowering her voice, she whispers something to Xia Yu and tells her to act accordingly before walking away. Instantly, Xiao's entire demeanor changes. She bows respectfully and apologizes for her earlier rudeness, explaining that her lady, Yui Ling, has corrected her. She further adds that Yui Ling had to leave first due to important matters. Grabbing Tian's arm, she assumes he is here to sell supplies and insists that because of their earlier behavior, they will double the price for anything he wants to sell. Two volunteers take his bag full of loot and lead him to a private room. Inside, the place is filled with rare and high-quality items, proving that this is the Martial Marketplace's biggest shop. One of the girls offers him tea and before stepping out informs him that the value of the armored ox's horns and leather comes to 20,000 yuan. As promised, they will double it, making it 40,000. This comes as a surprise to Tien, who never expected to walk away with so much money. A little later, Xiao hands him 4 white cards, each worth 10,000. Grinning with excitement, Tien can't help but think how happy Ya Yu will be when she sees this. Just as he's about to leave, Xiao adds that the manager, Yui Ling, instructed her to let him know that as a further gesture of apology, he'll receive a 50% discount on anything he wants to buy. Hearing that, Tien decides not to hold back and starts browsing the shop's reference menu. As he scrolls through the list, he finds the prices ridiculously high and mutters inwardly that the big families controlling the Cultivation Association are the reason everything is so overpriced. Still, he settles on buying a profound training manual, a monster directory, 3 bottles of mid-tier monster blood, and 3 restorative elixirs. Altogether, it costs 78,500 win, but with the discount and a little rounding down, he only needs to pay 70,000. Tien hands over the gold card, glad that he took Leon's money. But deep down, he knows this VIP treatment isn't just because someone at the shop called him a scanger. He's got no clue what they saw in him, but they're clearly treating him differently for a reason. When the staff says nothing more, he heads for the door only to be stopped by Xiao. A small grin forms on his face. He knew it wasn't going to end that easily. Xiao then tells him that her manager would like to meet him if he's willing. Pressing forward, Tien arrives at a hall on the 2nd floor, and the moment the door opens, he sees Yu Ling sitting there calmly sipping tea. He's stunned by how much she resembles his sister, but he pushes the thought aside as they greet each other. Yelling welcomes him politely and mentions that she's from the Mohai base. As soon as they shake hands, Tien manages to copy her high-tier cultivation talent, and with a slight grin, he introduces himself. Yuing gestures for Tien to sit, and as she pours him tea, she explains that anyone who steps onto the 2nd floor of the Martial Pavilion is considered a valued guest. Confused, Tien admits that he is of common birth with no ties to political or influential families, so he doesn't understand why he would be called valuable. Yelling agrees, but calmly points out that his value lies exactly in that his independence and lack of affiliation. Tien says nothing in response, but quietly notes how composed and thoughtful this girl is, so unlike his sister, Yayu. Without wasting time, Yuing slides a symbol across the table and reveals the real reason she invited him. She wants him to join her Martial Pavilion. The way she says it reminds him of Yahello, someone he could never bring himself to say no to. Even so, he asks something that's been on his mind. Mohai is a massive base filled with talented people, so why would they want someone like him? A novice martial warrior. Yelling rises and explains that bases like Mohai are powerful, not because they never lack talent, but because they are always searching for more. Tien finds himself unexpectedly impressed. She may look like a delicate girl, but her words carry weight and vision far beyond anything his silly sister could ever manage. Seeing him lost in thought, Xiao cuts in and suggests he shouldn't overthink it, adding that even elite disciples from powerful families dream of joining her lady, but don't meet her standards. Tien knows it's a golden opportunity. Yet he also understands that joining any organization means giving up freedom and risking exposure. If anyone finds out about his secret ability, it could lead to a gruesome death. Wanting to stay safe and independent, he hesitates. Yelling notices his reluctance and directly asks for the reason. Struggling to say no to a face that looks so much like his sister's, he tries to explain by bringing up the rumors about the Iron Fang invasion. He says the incident created chaos among many political families, but ironically, it gave him peace. That's why he doesn't want to live like them or serve people like them. Yelling is slightly offended by the comparison, but keeps her composure and offers him time to observe them first, saying she has more than enough patience. As Tien walks out of the martial pavilion, his thoughts spiral. He questions what it truly means to be a martial warrior and what talent really is. He's furious that those meant to protect the people are instead abusing their power, making life even harder for ordinary folks who already live in constant fear of beasts. On top of that, he feels weak, and in that moment, he swears to grow stronger and rise even higher. Just then, a status window pops up notifying him that he has successfully copied a high-tier cultivation talent. Seeing the notification, Tien doesn't hesitate. He immediately fuses it. After so many days, Yetian is finally back home. The moment Yahello sees him, she runs straight into his arms, hugging him tightly. She playfully teases him about how much tougher he looks after being gone for 20 days. Tien doesn't hold back and proudly tells her that her brother is now a martial warrior. Hearing that, Yahello jumps with joy, and seeing her so happy makes Tien smile. He thinks to himself that once her talent awakens, she'll become a martial warrior too, and he decides to keep improving her talent whenever he finds compatible items. After the excitement settles, Yahello insists on giving him a trim, since after growing his hair out for more than 20 days, he's starting to look like a beggar. Now that he's a martial warrior, he needs to take better care of his appearance. Sitting down for a haircut, Tien relaxes completely, trusting Yahello as she's been giving him the same style for years. As she snips away, a wave of nostalgia hits him. She's been cutting his hair ever since their parents passed away. He remembers when they were younger how her hands would tremble as she tried to cut his hair after he got roughed up. She had begged him to go to the hospital, but they didn't have the money, so he convinced her to just help cut his hair short so they could clean and dress the wound. Back then, she had dropped the scissors in fear and cried, wishing her brother had the power of the immortal jellyfish, the creature from the story he used to read to her that could heal endlessly. Immortal jellyfish are said to possess a healing ability that allows them to recover almost instantly from injuries. Back then, Tien never believed in any of that. But now, standing in the present and recalling those stories, he quickly rushes to grab the illustrated book of treasures he purchased earlier. Flipping through its pages, he searches for the immortal jellyfish and finds it almost immediately. According to the book, this creature is a water-type beast with a healing talent and can be found in a place called the Lake of Death. The discovery sparks a thought in Tien. If he can copy this healing talent, he would no longer need to worry about getting injured, and Yahello would finally be able to stop worrying about him. Curious, Yahello peeks into the book and is stunned to see the same creature from the stories of their childhood, shocked that those tales weren't just made up. Still, she pulls Tien back in front of the mirror to finish his haircut. Later that evening, Tien is in his room reading, testing a new body training technique designed specifically for martial warriors. The method progresses in stages. At the novice level, it strengthens the skin. Mid-level targets the muscles and late stage reinforces the bones. Trying it out, Tien quickly realizes that this new technique absorbs energy much faster than his old methods. Eager to amplify his progress, he decides to drink a bottle of mid-tier beast blood. The moment he does, the absorption rate triples. Seeing this improvement, he decides to continue cultivating at home and plans to head to the Lake of Death as soon as the cooldown period ends. Since his talent copying cooldown time is 30 days, Tien smirks maliciously, already planning his next move to find the immortal jellyfish and copy its healing talent. At the martial pavilion, Xiao welcomes Tien and assumes he's there to meet Hua Ling, but instead he says he's looking to buy something. Noticing his neat outfit, Xiao thinks to herself that he's looking much more handsome now. When they reach the reception, Tien asks for a map of the Lake of Death. After searching for several minutes, Xiao finally finds the map and hands it over. The moment Tien sees it, a wicked grin spreads across his face, excited at the thought of copying some powerful talents. After paying for the map, he quietly sets off for his destination, leaving Xiao behind with curious thoughts, wondering if he's off to collect junk again. Watching him leave, a wave of worry hits her. She recalls the warning from the young miss about how dangerous the Lake of Death is, a place crawling with terrifying water beasts where even elite martial warriors struggle to survive. Now she can't help but feel anxious, hoping nothing bad happens to him. At the Lake of Death, Tien is stunned by the sight of its barren and chaotic landscape. The desolate, stormy atmosphere makes him even more certain that powerful talents await here, and it's clear from the eerie calm that danger could strike at any moment. Instantly, he spots a water monster emerging, so he activates his invisibility and decides to observe for now. Sprinting toward a mountain peak for a better vantage point, he notices a girl and an elderly man diving into the water using an umbrella right where the monster is appearing. Upon closer look, he realizes it's Uling with her elderly companion. They are both leaping through the air, narrowly avoiding the lightning bolts triggered by the monster's presence. Yuling is clutching a chest in her hand, and from their expressions, it's clear they thought they wouldn't make it out alive. As the top-tier monster opens its mouth to devour them, they manage to escape the water just in time. Completely exhausted, Ling collapses onto a nearby rock, unaware that a swarm of small monsters is creeping up behind her. Seeing her fall behind, Tien knows he has no other choice. Using his speed talent, he darts forward in a blur, ready to strike and protect her. Ling keeps running, determined not to let the monsters catch her. One of them is just inches away when her elderly teammate yells out, urging his young lady to stay safe. Just then, Ling turns to face the monster, shuts her eyes, and activates her secret technique. A glowing flower forms on her forehead. A saber appears in her hand. Her hair turns pink, and waves of pink energy swirl around her. In a blink, she vanishes, leaving the monster confused for a moment until she reappears mid-air, locked onto her enemy with unwavering focus. Without hesitation, she slices the monster clean in half. Watching from a distance, Tien steps back, shaking his head and calling himself a fool. This wasn't a battle a novice martial warrior like him could ever win. Whatever technique Ling just used, it blew him away. Standing quietly on a nearby cliff, he watches her tear through every monster in her path, cutting them down effortlessly with her saber. At that moment, any doubts he had about her strength vanish. She is clearly an elite martial warrior at the peak of her realm. With her secret technique activated, she is nearly on par with a legendary warrior. Dozens of monsters lie dead around her, and even 10 people like Tien wouldn't stand a chance against her. Suddenly, the lake monster rises again, and the elderly man is caught, his leg trapped in its massive jaws. As the creature prepares to devour him, he calls out to Ling, urging her to escape. He warns that her secret technique is about to wear off, and if she doesn't make it out alive, then the deaths of their 10 fallen comrades will have been in vain, especially since the treasure they recovered is so important. Hearing all of this, Tien is stunned by the revelation that 10 people died underwater and wonders what kind of treasure is worth taking such a massive risk. With no better option, Ling leaps from the dangerous cliff to the one where Tien is standing safely away from the monster. She notices the flower on her forehead fading, signaling that her technique is wearing off. Exhausted, she collapses to the ground with the treasure beside her. When Tien reaches out to examine it, Ling, despite her weakened state, warns him in a faint voice not to touch it. Seeing how protective she is even in that condition, Tien reassures her that he has no intention of stealing it and decides to take her somewhere safer, far from the chaos. Gently lifting her in his arms, he asks for her permission to head to a nearby cave. When she remains silent, he takes that as agreement and quietly carries her away. Inside the cave, Ling sleeps deeply from exhaustion and injuries wrapped in Tien's cloak to keep warm. As he watches her, Tien can't help but notice how much she resembles his sister, except for the small beauty mark near her eye. Out of instinct, he tries to wipe it away, but when his fingers touch it and it doesn't budge, a nervous feeling creeps over him. It's been several hours, and Ling still hasn't woken up. Tien wonders how much longer she'll be out. Squatting beside her, he examines her face, but when she lets out a faint groan, he quickly stands up, surprised. Ling finally stirs, still in pain, and slowly opens her eyes. Shocked, she asks if Tien saved her. Brushing it off, Tien lies and says it was just a coincidence that he happened to be passing by. After cleaning off his cloak and thanking him, she hands it back. As he puts it on, Ling compliments his guts for daring to come to the Lake of Death alone and makes a silent vow to recruit him into the martial pavilion no matter what. Suddenly, without warning, she summons a glowing orb that startles Tien. Ling grins at his reaction and explains it's called a lightstone, a tool that stores and emits light. Tien is stunned by how she made it appear so effortlessly. Ling finds his curiosity amusing and promises to explain everything once she finishes drinking her healing potion. As she quietly waits for it to take effect, Tien drifts into thought, wondering if this could be some kind of space-time talent. But he recalls none of her listed talents included anything related to space. Once her healing is complete, she suddenly kicks Tien lightly on the leg and tells him to get up, reminding him he wanted to know where the items came from. Alternatively, she picks up the bronze chest in one hand and a small pouch in the other. And to Tien's surprise, the pouch absorbs the entire chest in an instant. That's when it clicks for him. It's not a space talent, but a space-time-ipe treasure. She, casually adjusting her hair, offers to teach him how to use it if he agrees to join the Martial Pavilion. But before she can even finish, Tien rolls over and pretends to sleep the moment she mentions joining, which leaves her fuming in frustration. She, clenching her teeth, glares at him from across the cave, muttering to herself that one day she'll make him join no matter what. Meanwhile, lying there with his eyes closed, Tien thinks to himself that those space items won't be anything special once he copies their ability, so there's no need to fuss over them now. The next morning, Tien wakes up and immediately looks around for Ling, but she's already gone. Instead, he finds a mid-tier profound training manual, 10 bottles of high-tier monster blood, and 10 gold cards, each worth 1,000,000 yuan. A grin spreads across his face as he realizes Ling must have left them for him before leaving. Tien knows these items alone are enough to push him into the ranks of elite martial warriors. With that in mind, he puts his plan to search for the jellyfish on hold, deciding instead to strengthen himself first. Without hesitation, he grabs one of the blood bottles and starts drinking. 4 months later, an animal carcass sizzles over a fire with empty cans and cloaks scattered nearby. In the center of the cave, waves of bright energy swirl around Tien as he meditates. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, glowing with power, and a bolt of lightning shoots into the sky. Smoke billows through the cave as Tien rises from the shadows, staring at his hands now sparkling with energy. Clenching his fists, he grins with satisfaction, knowing without a doubt that he has reached the elite martial warrior realm. Pulling on his cloak, a confident smirk spreads across his face as he declares, "It is time to hunt. It has been raining for a long time now." After stepping out of the cave, Tien notices 11 newly constructed graves and instantly understands that Ling must have made them. Standing in front of one, he reflects that with the number of monsters in the lake, not even bones would have remained. Yet, despite that, Ling had the kindness to mark their deaths with graves. His eyes then catch sight of an umbrella, the same one Ling and her elderly teammate, now dead, used to dive with. Curiously, he opens it and is amazed to find it creates a waterproof bubble. As he studies it more, he realizes the bubbles fully surround him, allowing him to dive into water without trouble. Excited by the discovery, he combines it with his shadow talent to remain undetected by monsters and plunges into the lake of death. As he dives deeper, something massive catches his attention. At first, he can't tell what it is, but soon recognizes it as a tiger claw fish with a mid-tier innate talent. The creature is so large that Tien nearly panics, afraid it has spotted him, but he holds his nerve and keeps descending. Eventually, he reaches the deepest part of the lake and begins to wonder if the immortal jellyfish is really down there. Suddenly, he senses something suspicious following him, and when he turns, a set of tentacles crashes into the ground, sending him tumbling through the water. Alarmed, he scans the area and then sees the opponent's status window. His eyes go wide in disbelief. It's the immortal jellyfish he has been searching for all this time, possessing a novice-tier innate talent and an apex-tier healing talent. Just as the jellyfish's tentacle is about to strike the bubble, Tien summons his dagger and swings it with force, managing to slice the tentacle clean off. The monster howls in pain, but it quickly regenerates thanks to its apex healing talent. As the restored tentacle lashes toward him again, Tien pulls an unexpected move. He reaches out, touches it, and instantly copies the apex healing talent. Before he can react further, the tentacle hurls him deeper into the lake with such force that it shatters the bulletproof umbrella, making it difficult for him to breathe. Gasping for air, he spots swarms of jellyfish closing in on him. Knowing he now has the healing talent, but still outnumbered, Tien decides it's smarter to retreat than face a deadly swarm in such dangerous conditions, yet races through the forest, pushing his speed and strength talents to the limit. Danger still lingers behind him, but he finally breaks free from whatever was chasing him. Breathing heavily, he slows down and glances back to make sure he's truly safe. With the threat behind him, it's time to focus on why he came here. Clearing his mind, he prepares to copy a new talent. A familiar screen appears, confirming that the apex tier healing talent has been successfully copied. Without hesitation, Yatin agrees to fuse it, and his body jolts as the new power merges with his own. Pain flickers through him, but it's nothing he hasn't faced before. After copying so many talents, his body has adapted to the strain, and the process now feels almost routine. With another powerful skill added to his collection, he's steadily growing stronger, and his journey is far from over. The fusion completes successfully, and his status window updates. His cultivation talent remains high tier. His sword and shadow talents are unchanged, and now his healing talent is upgraded to apex tier. This time the fusion is smooth, and unlike before, there are no painful side effects. His body has clearly grown used to it. To test his new healing ability, Yetian takes out a drop of venom from the immortal jellyfish. The poison is so deadly that even a tiny amount could kill a normal person, but he lets a drop touch his skin anyway. The venom begins working immediately, but Yayen quickly activates his healing talent, and the wound vanishes as if it never existed. He's impressed by how powerful the healing is, yet it also makes him realize something important. Most of the talents he currently has are support-based, like healing and defense. While they help him survive, they aren't enough to win against powerful enemies. If he wants to grow stronger and take on tougher opponents, he needs to copy an attack-type talent next. Later, back at home, Yeti sits quietly as Yayu trims his hair. He's flipping through a beast encyclopedia, scanning the pages for something worthwhile. He reads about the aggressive bear and the flame bird, but neither impresses him. They're just average. Suddenly, Yayu gets annoyed and scolds him for disappearing without telling her anything, calling him horrible for making her worry, yet offers a small smile and apologizes, knowing she's right. As she continues cutting his hair, Yeti suddenly freezes. Something in the book grabs his full attention, the mighty ant. He reads the entry carefully. Even though this beast is low tier, it's always found in groups. And when they attack together, even top martial warriors struggle to survive. Yet eyes light up. This is exactly what he's been looking for. It's not about raw power alone. It's about teamwork, coordination, and overwhelming force. Now he knows what to hunt next. Yayan enters the martial pavilion and is greeted by a polite voice welcoming him inside. Behind the counter, a familiar girl recognizes him and smiles, surprised to see Yayan again. After some time, she casually asks what he's looking for today. And without wasting a moment, Yeti replies that he needs a complete mighty ant body. At first, Xiao seems a little confused, thinking maybe he wants it to soak in wine like others do to boost physical recovery. She even jokes that maybe he's feeling weak, but Yeti quickly clears up the misunderstanding. Xiao apologizes and tells him they don't have any mighty ants in stock, but instead of turning him away, she shares some recent news that might interest him. She explains that Linhai Base is currently working with a mid-sized base to build a commercial trade route, and the area between the two locations is wild and filled with dangerous beasts. Among them is a nest of mighty ants. Hearing this, Yan immediately connects the dots and asks if the base she's referring to is the Iron Fang Base, the only mid-sized base close to Linhai. Xiao confirms his guess and says the Iron Fang Base is located about 100 kilometers away. The mighty ants are somewhere along that route, and it might be the opportunity Yetian has been waiting for. While chatting with Xiao, Yetian listens closely as she shares more about the situation with the Iron Fang Base. She brings up something interesting. Apparently, some time ago, a person from the Mo family died under mysterious circumstances. Because of that, the Mo family suspected the Iron Fang Base was secretly planning an invasion. Yet raises an eyebrow, but Xiao continues and explains that the Mo family went to investigate the matter directly. Surprisingly, the Iron Fang Base managed to resolve the misunderstanding peacefully, at least on the surface. In fact, it was only because of the Mo family's involvement that the Iron Fang Base and the Lin family were able to reach an agreement to build a commercial trade route. That bit of information gets Yayan thinking, if the Mo family had a hand in this, then there's a good chance they were involved in something shady because the timing and connections feel off. Yayan doesn't say much, but it's clear that suspicion is building in his mind. Just then, Xiao finds what she's been looking for and hands Yeti a small item. It's a token. She explains that the token is required to participate in special events, and it was originally meant for their young miss. But, apparently, plans must have changed. Before Yeti can ask more, Zhao adds with a proud smirk that their martial pavilion is part of a large base, and they have no plans to lower themselves by working under a mid-sized base like the Iron Fang. Clearly unimpressed by the Iron Fang's ambitions, the two bases are working together to build a trade route. But the path is filled with dangerous beasts, so they've decided to send out a team of martial warriors to clear the area. For Yayan, this is the perfect opportunity because he's been looking for a mighty ant, and joining this mission might help him find one. In the Linhai base, the Lin family holds absolute power, and even the once powerful Mo family is now treated like nothing more than loyal subjects. Knowing this, Yatin makes up his mind. It's time to move. When he reaches the Lin family's recruitment area, he sees just how serious they are. As expected, they've gathered a huge crowd and hundreds of warriors are ready to take part in the mission. But Yayin stays cautious, blending into the background because drawing attention now could be risky. Suddenly, the crowd grows quiet, and a powerful presence enters. It's Lin Mingji, the current head of the Lin family and a peak elite martial warrior. Lin Mingji greets the warriors and officially begins the beast-clearing operation. Yet watches from the back, staying alert, but then something catches his eye. The Mo family is here too. Lin Mingji steps forward and addresses the crowd with a powerful voice. He explains that everyone knows how small the Linhai base is, and because of that, resources are limited, and not everyone can get what they need to grow stronger through cultivation. That's why this collaboration with a mid-sized base is such a big deal. If the operation succeeds, the benefits will be huge, not just for the Lin family, but for everyone involved. Still, Lin Mingji doesn't sugarcoat the situation and reminds everyone that clearing out the monsters along the trade route won't be easy. There's real danger, and some might not make it back. Even so, he promises that the rewards for this mission will be greater than anything offered in past hunts. The warriors in the crowd start to feel the excitement. For many of them, this could be their chance to make a name for themselves or gain something valuable enough to change their future. The crowd breaks into loud cheers, voices echoing through the bass as everyone shouts praises for the Lin family. Amid the excitement, Yetian watches from a distance and notices Captain Gale Wolf, wondering if he still remembers him. But before he can think too much about it, Lin Mingji speaks again with strong conviction, clearing up any doubts among the gathered warriors. Lin Mingji assures everyone that whatever they earn during this operation, whether it's rare beast parts, materials, or treasures, will fully belong to them. The Lin family won't take a share. Then comes another surprise as Lin Mingji reveals additional rewards. Every martial warrior will receive 20 bottles of mid-tier monster blood and 2 million coins. On the other hand, elite warriors will be rewarded with 3 bottles of high-tier monster blood and a generous 10 million coins. The crowd erupts again, now fully motivated. The announcement isn't just an offer, it's a golden opportunity. A long line of eager warriors forms beside the assessment station, where an official directs everyone to place their hands on a glowing stone. The stone measures each individual's strength and reveals their current level of cultivation. One result shows a mid-tier martial apprentice, and the warrior moves aside while the next in line approaches. Yin waits and watches, remembering Yuing's advice that relying on powerful clans, especially the Mo family, only brings trouble. Staying unnoticed is safer for now. The stone measures force based on the pressure delivered. So, if Yayen applies only part of his real power, the reading will drop to a lower rank and avoid unwanted attention. When his turn comes, Yeti steps forward and calmly rests his hand on the stone, ready to mask his true strength, making sure to limit his power. Yan wants the result to show a late-stage martial warrior, just enough to participate without drawing too much attention. The stone glows briefly and displays the result, late-stage martial warrior. The crowd around Yetian stirs and people glance over, surprised to see someone so young already at that level. Some assume he must be from a powerful family given the talent needed to reach that stage so early. Yet stays composed, but thinks he might have revealed a bit too much. Even though he held back, the attention is already growing. Nearby warriors talk among themselves, comparing their own progress. One complains about still being stuck in the mid-stage, while another jokes about how real geniuses always show up young, leaving the rest of them struggling to move forward. Not far from the assessment area, Captain Gale Wolf watches the scene. His squad is still short one member, and after seeing Yayen's display, he considers adding him to the team. The crowd buzzes with excitement as Yayen approaches, and despite his strength, he heads straight for Captain Gale Wolf's group. Many others hoped he would join one of the stronger or more elite squads, but Yeti makes his choice without hesitation. Gale Wolf immediately recognizes him and recalls the young martial apprentice who once saved a little girl from the jaws of a silver moon wolf. The memory sticks with him, but what surprises him even more is that the same boy has now reached the level of a late-stage martial warrior in less than a year. Yet downplays his progress, calling it pure luck, and keeps his tone humble as he asks to join Gale Wolf's team for the upcoming operation. The captain doesn't hesitate for a second and welcomes Yeti into the group with open arms, clearly proud and excited to have him back. Yet stands among his new teammates in Gale Wolf's squad, fully prepared for the mission. He politely asks them to look out for him during the operation, and the group welcomes him warmly, especially glad to have another late-stage martial warrior on their side. His presence lifts their morale, making them feel more confident that the hunt might go more smoothly than expected. Up ahead, Gale Wolf gathers the team and points toward the mission zone, explaining that only weak-tier monsters are expected in the area. Still, he firmly reminds everyone to stay alert and avoid rushing in recklessly, as safety always comes first. Just as they begin to move out, Yeti suddenly senses something rushing toward them at high speed. The team stiffens, ready for battle, but Gale Wolf quickly reassures them, suggesting it's probably the first wave of monsters and nothing they can't handle. He quickly assigns positions. He'll lead at the front. Yayen will cover the rear and the rest will hold the middle and flanks. With everything set, Yetian sharpens his focus and calmly tells the group that whatever's coming, they can leave it to him. Yeti and his group stand close to the building, facing the two red animals that growl and prepare to attack. Indeed, tension builds as both sides get ready for the fight. One of Yanni's teammates shouts for the battle to begin, and Yeti agrees, his eyes fixed on the enemies ahead. In an instant, the red animals rush forward. Also, their movements are wild and fast, but Yayen quickly pulls out his sword and meets their attack head-on. Yayen blocks the first strike and kills one red animal. Without wasting time, Yetian rushes toward the other red beast, and then, with strong force, Yeti lifts his leg high and kicks one of the other animals, sending it flying backward. Yet holds his sword tight, jumps forward, and drives the blade deep into the creature's body. The sword goes all the way in, and the red animal lets out a loud cry before falling to the ground, lifeless. After the battle, Yayan and Captain Gale Wolf stand among the fallen beasts. The fight ends quickly, but clearly shows everyone's skill. Gale Wolf proudly mentions that he managed to take down 3 enemies while Yayan just smiles, keeping to himself that he purposely held back so his full strength wouldn't attract attention. Another team member laughs and jokes that Yayan is already impressive for his age, teasing Gale Wolf by saying, "Maybe it's time for the captain to stop showing off." Gale Wolf plays along, pretending to be offended before laughing with the group. Then someone brings up a more serious observation that the wolves didn't wait to ambush them inside the valley, which would have trapped the team and given the wolves a much better chance at winning. The group goes quiet, sensing something's not right, because if the wolves didn't follow their usual strategy, maybe they were rushed or forced into the fight. After that, one of the members takes a careful look around and suddenly realizes something important, that the wolves may have intended to attack in the valley, but something else might have stopped them. Moreover, he suggests that this might not actually be wolf territory, and that stronger beasts in the area could have driven them out. Hearing this, the team starts to grasp the real danger, and a younger member nervously points out that there are only 5 of them deep in this city. But one of the team members quickly steps in to reassure everyone and reminds them that they have a solid team made up of 3 mid-stage and 2 late-stage martial warriors, which is more than enough to stay confident and hold their ground. To ease the tension, Gale Wolf reveals a small device about the Lin family's walkie-talkie and explains that each captain has been given one in case of emergencies. If something goes wrong, Gale Wolf can quickly call for backup. With that assurance, the team regains their confidence. As they carefully move forward through the city, Captain Gale Wolf suddenly raises his hand, signaling everyone to stop because he senses movement. Something is right above them, to which Yayen quickly checks its identity using his talent window and sees it's a fire-breathing lizard. A low-tier beast with a novice-level innate talent and low-tier fire talent starts bursting flames towards the group. The other crew members step in confidently, since Yeti and Gale Wolf handled the earlier monsters. Gale Wolf reminds everyone that while the lizard is low tier, its flames can still be dangerous, so they need to be cautious. The small squad charges into action, and Yayen watches from the side, a little concerned at first, but Gale Wolf reassures him that the team will be fine. A short while later, the group returns victorious, with the beast taken down. They celebrate the smooth win and give credit all around. One of them tries to downplay their role, but another points out that the distraction arrow made the kill possible, proving that teamwork won the battle. One of the team members says that it was an easy fight, and he doesn't feel tired at all because that low-tier creature didn't put up much of a challenge. Moreover, he feels confident, even ready to face a few more if they come. Just as the team begins to relax, a sneak fireball comes their way. Luckily, Yayen steps on time and saves that guy. Looks like more creatures are approaching. Since the first was a fire-breathing lizard, Yayen quickly realizes the incoming beasts are likely more of the same, and the fight is far from over. Captain Gale Wolf's voice breaks through the radio, urgently reporting trouble in Zone B and calling for backup, but only silence answers. As time passes, Gale Wolf realizes the harsh truth. He misjudged the Lin family's priorities, and they clearly don't care about his squad's safety. Feeling betrayed and responsible, he makes a bold decision. He plans to hold off the incoming threat alone, so his team has a chance to escape and urges them to run, but his comrades refuse. They call themselves brothers and stand their ground, unwilling to leave him behind. Despite their loyalty, Gale Wolf insists and orders them to go for their own safety. He yells at them to escape, calling them foolish for standing still when danger is closing in. Fully aware that staying could get them all killed, one man panics and bolts off on his own. Another crew member notices and clenches his fists, silently vowing that if he survives this, he'll make that coward pay. Gale Wolf then turns to Yayen, recognizing his potential and strength. He tells Yayen to take the two younger teammates and get out while they still have a chance, saying that losing someone as gifted as Yayen would be a waste. The rest of the team agrees and urges him not to throw away his future by staying behind in a fight that can't be won. Yayen quietly pretends he's going to follow their advice. But instead of running away, he suddenly charges forward and a burst of powerful aura explodes from him, freezing everyone in shock. That strength, the unmistakable aura of an elite martial warrior, leaves the team stunned. No one expected that Yayen had been hiding his true power all along. Deep down, Yeti knows he never intended to show his full strength. But if he kept it hidden now, the entire Gylolf team could die. Gale Wolf could easily escape alone if he wanted to, but he's choosing to stay and protect everyone else. Witnessing that courage, Yatsian realizes he can't turn his back. He steps forward, not to escape, but to fight. As he looks ahead, Yeti questions whether hiding his strength and staying silent makes him any better than the selfish people in the Mo family. But there's no time to dwell on that. Even if exposing his true power causes trouble later, it's a risk he's willing to take. He believes in Captain Gale Wolf's sense of fairness and trusts the captain won't treat him poorly for stepping up when it truly matters. As Yayen fully unleashes his strength, a wave of raw power rushes through the air. Gale Wolf watches in disbelief. What Yayen shows is the kind of speed and power only an elite martial warrior can possess. It's not just impressive, it shakes everyone who sees it. Without hesitation, Yayen activates his Shadow Blade skill, and enemies fall one after another. It becomes crystal clear to everyone there that Yayen isn't just strong. He's one of the top fighters in the entire Linhai base. While the team is still recovering from the shock of Yayen's strength, a sudden scream comes from behind. It's the same guy who ran off earlier, now trapped and begging for help. One of the teammates notices and hesitates, unsure whether to intervene, but Captain Gale Wolf doesn't even glance back. He reminds them all that the man made his choice when he abandoned the team in a moment of crisis, thinking he could survive alone. And now he's dealing with the consequences. Meanwhile, Yayen clears the path ahead and calmly turns to face the others, asking if they want to move forward with him or stay behind. Without a moment of doubt, Gale Wolf answers for the entire squad, declaring that they're the Gale Wolf team, and they stick together no matter what. With that, they regroup and follow Yayen into the next battle, ready to face whatever comes. The team takes a break after a tough battle, and one of the younger members groans in pain, while another jokes about how ridiculous he looks compared to Yayen, who's calm and barely scratched. Everyone turns to Yayen with admiration. Captain Gale Wolf thanks him sincerely for leading them to safety, but Yayen brushes it off casually, saying it was nothing. Then he surprises them by announcing he won't be heading back with the group because there's something deeper in the danger zone that he wants to try. Gale Wolf is taken aback and asks if Yatien really plans to go further alone. Given the risks, it doesn't seem like the smartest move, but Yatien gives a confident smile and insists he'll be fine. One teammate tries to convince him to stay, but Gale Wolf steps in and tells the others there's no use following him because they'll just slow him down. With the strength Yatien has shown, he's more than capable of going solo, yet knows that before he faces stronger families or greater threats, he needs to fully understand his healing talent. Deep down, he feels the urge to test its true limits, not in theory, but in real battle. As he moves deeper into the wild zone, the air grows thick with a sharp unpleasant. He frowns, realizing he's probably reached a beast's nest. Stepping forward, Yayen feels like something is off. That's where the ground starts to shiver, and suddenly a hand pops out of a monster that punches Yayen. But he immediately gets a hold of himself. It appears Yayen has spotted the king of lizards. Exactly what he was hoping for. A perfect challenge to push his healing powers to the edge and see how they hold up in a real fight. The lizard immediately breathes fire and it burns Yayen or his shirt, at least as he seems rather excited for this opportunity. Meanwhile, not far behind, the Gale Wolf team catches sight of the battle. Captain Gale Wolf spots the familiar figure going head-to-head with a massive creature. It's Yayen. Facing the fire-breathing king of lizards without hesitation, Yayen charges forward with calm determination. He knows this isn't just a fight. It's a chance to truly test the limits of his body and healing talent. Instead of ending it quickly, Yeti deliberately stretches the battle, choosing to withstand constant damage to see if the beast's flames can break him or if his healing will outlast the assault. Explosions of fire rage across the battlefield, lighting up the area in relentless bursts for nearly an hour. From a distance, the Gale Wolf team watches anxiously. One of the members quietly wonders if Yetien is even alive. Captain Gale Wolf, though clearly worried, admits there's nothing they can do. The intensity of the fight is far beyond their level. Finally, as the flames begin to fade, Yetien walks out from the scorched ground, calm and steady, standing over the fallen beast. He looks down at the creature and quietly mutters to himself that he's won this gamble, and more importantly, his healing talent has passed the test. The healing talent Yeti just tested has proven powerful, but it drains a lot of stamina. Feeling completely exhausted, he glances at the body of the mid-tier beast he defeated and decides to use its monster blood to quickly restore his strength. Back at a safe distance, the Gale Wolf team sees the flames have finally died down, and one of them asks if it's over. Just then, Yeti walks out of the smoke, alive and steady. A wave of relief hits the team as they spot him, yet looks a little surprised to see them still there and reminds Captain Gale Wolf that he told them to return earlier. Gale Wolf scratches the back of his head and explains they stayed because they were worried, even if they couldn't help much and they didn't want to abandon him. A female team member rushes over and notices Yayan's clothes have been burned away by the flames. She offers him an extra pair and apologizes that they might be too big, yet thanks her sincerely and puts them on without complaint. Then they all turn their attention to the battlefield rewards because there's a huge pile of beast corpses lying around. One of the crew members asks what to do with the loot, and Gale Wolf immediately says they'll follow Yetien's lead since he did all the work. But Yetien insists that because they stayed and didn't run away, and now that the danger is over, they should take the rewards back to base together. The team laughs at that, and one of them jokes that even though the beasts didn't kill them, hauling all these heavy bodies back might be what finally does them in. The moment Yatien refuses to carry the defeated beasts back, Captain Gale Wolf looks puzzled and asks where he's heading instead. Yeti simply says he's going to the area where the mighty ants live, and that instantly grabs the captain's attention because Gale Wolf knows how dangerous that place is. He explains that while a single mighty ant might seem weak on its own, everything changes inside their nest. They live in massive groups and attack together with overwhelming force, and even powerful warriors struggle to survive once surrounded. Gale Wolf warns that going there alone is basically a suicide mission. Despite the warning, Yayen remains confident and determined to move forward. Soon he arrives near the ant nest and sees the area is already packed with people. Powerful groups from different bases have gathered. Yayen spots members of both the Mo family and the Lin family among the crowd. And then his eyes land on an old man standing with a strong presence, yet wonders which family the man belongs to. And it turns out he's Elder King, a respected warrior from the Iron Fang base. Seeing so many powerful figures gathered in one place, Yeti realizes that this mighty ant mission isn't just dangerous. It's become a major event, drawing serious attention. Now it's his turn to step into the mix and make his move. Elder Qing's sharp senses quickly pick up that someone is watching from nearby, and his tone shifts as he commands his men to capture the spy. Yeti, hiding in the shadows, doesn't flinch. He already knows that sooner or later he'll have to get involved with these powerful groups, and getting caught might even help him gather more information. The guards rush forward and surround him. Elder Ching steps forward, demanding to know who Yayan is and why he was watching from a distance. Without showing any fear, Yayan calmly explains that he's from Lin Hai Base and came because he heard there was an important mission and wanted to help. Impressed, but still cautious, Elder Ching tells his men to stand down. Confusion spreads among the gathered warriors as none of the powerful families recognize him. One after another, they all deny knowing Yayan or claiming him as their own, which only deepens the mystery. Elder Ching studies him more carefully, realizing that it's rare to find a young elite warrior with such talent and no powerful family name backing him. His abilities are clear, but his unknown background raises even more questions. As Elder Ching begins questioning Yayan's identity, the Lin family's leader quickly steps in and confidently claims that Yayan is one of their own, brushing off all doubts. It's a clever move seeing the strength Yetian displayed, and he clearly doesn't want to risk letting such talent slip away. Yeti watches the scene unfold without surprise, having already expected that once they realized he was an elite martial warrior, someone would try to recruit him on the spot. The Lin family just happened to be the fastest to act. Without making a scene, Yayan plays along and blends into the group. Keeping things simple, the Lin family head looks pleased with himself, thinking he got lucky by gaining a powerful new ally without having to lift a finger. To him, this is a win. Meanwhile, high above the scene, two girls are watching from a hidden spot. Xiao is clearly annoyed and finds it amusing that the Lin family is trying to claim Yayan as some prize. Beside her, Ewing agrees, feeling that Yayan doesn't belong in a second-rate clan like the Lin family. In her eyes, someone with Yayan's potential should be standing at the top somewhere like the martial pavilion. Now that Yayan's identity as an elite martial warrior is out in the open, he knows things won't be as simple going forward, since hiding his true power is no longer an option. Still, with the strength he currently holds, Yeti isn't worried because he's confident he can handle whatever comes his way. Just then, a voice calls out to halt, and one of the martial warriors reports to Elder Ching that the formation is complete and everything is ready for the operation. Elder Ching turns his gaze toward the distance, his eyes settling on a cluster of rough raised soil peaks, and he immediately recognizes them as the entrance to the mighty ant's nest. Tin watches in silence, knowing this is exactly what he came for. And now he's finally standing at the place he's been chasing all this time. Elder King tells the warrior to return to his position, and without hesitation, the man obeys. Without wasting another moment, Elder Ching raises his hand and orders everyone to move back. The warriors quickly retreat, unsure of what he's about to do. With sharp focus, Elder Ching activates the formation, and a powerful surge of energy explodes outward as he commands it to break. Suddenly, flames pour down from the sky and a fierce and deadly attack known as Flame Shower. The scene is intense as massive bursts of fire crash down like a storm, engulfing the entire nest in flames. From a distance, one of the warriors watches in awe, quickly realizing that Elder Ching isn't just powerful, he's a formation master, and that explains the strength behind the Iron Fang base. High on a cliff, the two girls observing the battle are stunned. One of them comments on how costly that kind of formation must be, and wonders if Elder Ching has gone too far. But deep down, they both know the truth. The Iron Fang base has its own ambitions, and if using one powerful formation helps them gain control over Lin Hai base, then it's a price they're clearly willing to pay. On the battlefield, all eyes turn as the flames finally begin to fade, revealing a flattened mound. The destructive force of the attack leaves the warriors speechless, but something isn't right. There are no mighty ant bodies in sight, no corpses, no remains, nothing but dust and ash. Warriors quickly scatter, searching for proof that the creatures were destroyed. But their efforts come up empty. The nest seems empty and tension builds as doubt creeps in. Did the flame shower really wipe them all out? Or is the real threat still hidden underground? Yayan clenches his fists, clearly frustrated because without a full body, he can't copy the mighty ant's talent, and the intense attack has turned everything to ash. Watching from a nearby cliff, Ewing narrows her eyes and thinks to herself that while Elder Qing's formation worked, it may have gone too far. Stirring up a mighty ant nest with such an overwhelming attack is like kicking a beehive and hoping nothing stings back. Suddenly, one of the warriors notices something strange, a dark hole where the anthill used to be. It's so deep and shadowy that no one can see the bottom. As they step closer, curious but cautious, the ground trembles slightly, followed by a strange sound rising from the pit. In the next moment, massive ants burst out in waves, flooding the area with movement. Panic spreads as more and more ants crawl out, their numbers far beyond what anyone expected. Elder Qing wastes no time and shouts for everyone to prepare for battle. Warriors snap into formation and the fight begins. Chaos erupts as the Lin family's leader charges forward, rallying the Lin High Base's martial warriors to follow him. They rush in with full force, Yeqian's blades flashing as they meet the swarm head-on. The warriors strike fast and hard, cutting down ants and pushing forward with growing confidence. One warrior cheers after slaying an ant, boosting the morale of those around him. Amid the chaos, Yetian stays composed, eyes sharp and focused. While moving past a fallen mighty ant, he casually touches it, and in that instant, something triggers. A rush of power surges through him, and his status window updates. Yayen has successfully copied a high-tier strength talent, feeling the difference in his body, stronger and sharper. Amid the chaos of battle, Yetian copies the high-tier strength talent. A message appears in his mind asking if he wants to fuse it. But with enemies all around and danger closing in, Yetian knows this isn't the right moment. Fusing a talent requires full concentration, and the battlefield is anything but safe. Without hesitation, he activates his speed talent, and his body becomes a blur. His sword darkens with energy as he channels Shadow Blade, then unleashes his next move, Shadow Assassin. He vanishes into near invisibility, cutting through enemies with silent precision. One by one, the mighty ants drop before they can even react. Suddenly, the air shifts as a heavy pressure settles over the battlefield. It's thick and suffocating, shaking the ground beneath everyone's feet. All eyes turn to the center, where a massive, high-tier mighty ant appears. Its terrifying aura spreads in every direction, freezing even the bravest warriors in place. Fear begins to ripple through the crowd and commands to retreat echo across the battlefield. Some warriors don't hesitate. They turn and run, shouting for others to follow. The scene quickly descends into chaos as footsteps thunder and weapons are abandoned, while others in the distance struggle to catch up, yelling desperately not to be left behind. Above them, Ewing watches from a higher point and scoffs at how quickly everyone is fleeing, calling them a bunch of losers. She stays calm and composed, clearly unimpressed. While her companion Xiao worries about Yeti still being inside, Ewing remains confident and reminds her that Yeti will be fine because she believes in him. The battlefield sinks into panic as warriors start blaming each other, their frustration growing louder with every second. They expected someone strong to step up against the high-tier monster, but no one did. It becomes painfully clear that no great martial warrior can face a high-tier mighty ant powered by a strength talent, especially when that level of force matches a grandmaster. Elder Qing, once seen as dependable, ends up being the first to run, and his retreat confirms what many had already feared. The ones they trusted the most turned out to be the most unreliable. Screams echo from the depths of the ant nest as one warrior struggles to breathe, the air growing thick and heavy. His legs buckle under an invisible weight. Pressure builds and his strength begins to fade. But through the dense fog, Yetian moves faster instead of slowing down. While others crumble, Yetian pushes forward, his body cutting through the darkness. He can tell this mist isn't natural, but he doesn't hesitate. His instincts kick in and guide him. His steps become quicker, his focus sharpens, and he realizes the mist is a suppressor. Staying in it too long would mean death, and Yayen isn't ready to fall. Not here, not now. Yin knows the golden ant is likely to keep its eyes on any group movements, especially teams that stand out, so he quietly decides to separate from the team because retreating is the safer choice for now. Looking back at Captain Gale Wolf's squad, Yeti can't help but admire their skill. They dismantled the battlefield with such precision that only the skeletons of the monsters remain. It's a clean job and solid proof of their experience as true hunters. As Yayen moves further away, the familiar status window appears, confirming that the high-tier strength talent has been copied successfully and asking if he wants to fuse it. Without hesitation, Yeti agrees. And as the fusion begins, power surges through him. This is not just ordinary strength. It feels solid and absolute. With this kind of talent, Yeti can finally stand his ground against the big families and powerful figures. He no longer needs to rely on anyone. Strength like this makes him a threat, a shield, and a force entirely on his own. With everything complete and his power rising to a new level, Yetian looks ahead with calm resolve because it's time to return home. Yayen sits quietly, his mind still focused on the strength he just gained. With the fusion complete, his high-tier strength talent gives him power equal to 10 times his original strength. Even though Yayen is still technically just an elite warrior, taking down a beginner-level great martial warrior would now be effortless. Back at home, Yayu stares at him in disbelief because he has barely spoken since he returned. Sitting motionless like a statue, Yan looks more like some wise, ancient master than her own brother. Yayu starts talking to him, trying to get a reaction. First, she accuses him of acting distant, then teases him for pretending to be deaf and mute. When none of that works, she decides to get even. With a mischievous smirk, Yayu adds an unreasonable amount of salt to the food she prepares for Yayen, declaring that he asked for it. Moments later, she calls out that dinner is ready, and Yayen finally snaps out of his thoughts and walks over. He sees the table covered with a surprising variety of dishes, and Yayu proudly tells him she made it all just for her brother because he's been working hard and deserves a feast, yet smiles and promises to eat everything she made. He's just about to enjoy his meal when there's a knock at the door. Before he can react, Yayu grumbles from behind, telling him to at least try the food before rushing off. But Yeti heads to the door and opens it, surprised to see Captain Gale Wolf standing outside. Gale Wolf greets him casually and steps inside, explaining that he's come to deliver Yetian's share of the mission rewards. He pulls out a thick bundle, showing just how much Yetian earned. But when Yetian tries to politely refuse, saying it wasn't necessary, Gale Wolf shakes his head and insists because everyone's getting their share, and Yetian deserves just as much. Accepting it, Yetian steps aside and invites the captain to stay for a meal. Gale Wolf's eyes light up at the sight of the dishes, and without hesitation, he agrees. He sits down, and his expression turns to pure joy as he admits between bites that it's been ages since he had such tasty homemade food. Meanwhile, Yayen quietly tells him to eat as much as he wants because he's not very hungry at the moment. Yao starts to ask if it's a bit too salty, but before she can say much, Captain Gale Wolf casually disagrees and says the food tastes mild to him, guessing she might have added less salt this time. After hearing this, Yayu just shrugs it off, content that he's enjoying it either way. After the meal, Gale Wolf turns to Yayen and asks what he wanted to talk about. And Yayen mentions he's been at home cultivating for the past few days, so he's out of the loop about what's been happening and wants to know how the beast removal operation is going. Gale Wolf explains that both the Iron Fang base and Linhai base have taken a massive hit, saying that over 50 elite martial warriors have been lost already, and worse, 3 great martial warriors have died too. Shocked, Yeti asks if it happened at the mighty ant nest, and Gale Wolf nods, saying that after the first group of martial warriors retreated, a second much stronger wave was sent in, but even then they still couldn't win. After hearing what happened at the mighty ant nest, Yetian is stunned, and Gale Wolf further explains that the situation was so serious that the Iron Fang base had to send a Grand Master to finally destroy the ants. Yetian realizes how serious it was, because bringing in a Grand Master means the battle had gone far beyond the usual level of danger. Yet starts to wonder if such a massive loss of life was truly worth it, and the name Iron Fang base lingers in his thoughts. After a few final words and thanks, Gale Wolf prepares to leave, yet tells him goodbye, and Gale Wolf reassures him they'll see each other again soon. Just as Gale Wolf steps out, another visitor arrives at Yetian's door. A man introduces himself politely as Mo Yuen, the butler of the Mo family, and hands over an invitation, saying the family head wishes to treat Yayan to a meal. Yayan is surprised at the sudden invitation and hesitates. Without much thought, he tells Mo Yuan that he's not really in the mood to go out lately. Mo Yan reacts harshly to Yeti's refusal, his voice rising with arrogance because no one has ever dared to turn down an invitation from the Mo family. Gale Wolf steps in to calm things down and suggests they talk peacefully, but Moen dismisses him and warns Yetian to obey if he knows what's good for him. Gale Wolf tries once more to stop Yetian from making things worse, but the situation escalates anyway. As Mo Yuan places his hand on Yeti's shoulder, the hero immediately pulls Mo closer and slashes his face to the ground, which ends up breaking his arm. The difference in power is clear, and Yetian stays calm, almost surprised by how strong his new talent truly is. He tells Gale Wolf not to worry, and brushes the situation off while Mo Yuan runs back to his base, overwhelmed with anger and humiliation, vows revenge. His pride is shattered as he storms off, muttering threats under his breath. At the Mo family estate, Moan kneels before the family head, pleading for justice. His face is filled with pain and humiliation as he calls out to the patriarch, begging to be avenged. Mo Changan, the elite warrior and current head of the Mo family, looks down at him coldly and reminds him that he was sent to deliver an invitation, not to cause trouble. Mo Yan quickly defends himself, insisting he was polite, respectful, and only did what he was told. He claims that Yayan turned hostile the moment he heard the name Mo family, and not only injured him without reason, but also ripped apart the invitation that had been personally handwritten by Mo Kong. Hearing this, Changgeng's expression shifts. His pride clearly wounded, he becomes furious that Yayan would reject the invitation and dare to destroy a letter bearing his name. He shouts in anger, unable to believe anyone would ignore the Mo family's authority. Just then, a weak cough breaks through the tension. Chang Qing, the former patriarch and Kang's father, sits nearby, pale and frail. Changing rushes to his side and urges him to take his medicine. Chang Qing admits that during the battle with the mighty ants, he used a forbidden technique just to survive. Though it saved his life, it left his body severely damaged. He coughs again, more violently, and finally confesses the truth, that his core is injured beyond recovery. Changing tries to comfort him and tells him to stay hopeful. But Chang Qing simply shakes his head and reminds his son that he knows his own body better than anyone else, and there's no denying the damage is permanent. Chang Qing speaks with a heavy heart, knowing that his death would leave the Mo family without a great warrior to protect it. The future of the family without someone strong enough to lead seems dark and uncertain. Mo Tang, still burning with frustration, wonders if Yayan is simply waiting for the Lin family to reach out first. And if that's the case, then the Mo family must act faster because they can't afford to lose such a rare talent to their rivals. Changing's expression turns cold. Since a kind invitation has failed, they'll now take Yeti by force. Still, Kang raises a concern that Yayan isn't one of them. His surname is Ya, and he's an outsider. Even if they capture him, how could they ever trust that he'll truly serve the Mo family? Changing already has a plan for that, too. He holds up a small bottle and reveals a chilling truth. The elixir inside can erase a person's will, making them fully obedient. It was meant to be used secretly at the feast they had planned for Ye Tian, but now they'll have to use it sooner. Changing Jing hands the bottle to Kang with a stern warning to store it safely. Changing stares at it, understanding the full weight of what they're about to do because this isn't just a power move. It's a violation of someone's soul. Changing says the plan is clear now. First, they'll erase Yayan's will, and then they'll give him a fake identity that makes him part of the Mo family. Publicly, they'll declare him an illegitimate child of Changqing, which justifies changing his surname to Mo. That way, no one would question his position or loyalty. Changing stares at his father, an illegitimate child. But before the thought grows into doubt, Changqing quickly reassures him and tells his son not to overthink it, because it doesn't matter if Yayan is his child or Kang's. The important part is that his name carries the Mo legacy. Chongqing tries to hide his discomfort, worried more about his father's honor than his own. But Chongqing brushes it off, insisting that time is short, and the more they delay, the greater the risk of Yayan siding with someone else. Without further hesitation, Kang accepts the order and says he'll take 10 great elders with him and carry out the mission personally. With their combined strength, he's confident that capturing Yayan, who he still sees as just a young warrior, will be easy. The Mo family's plan goes into action. One of their operatives sneaks into Yayan's house, moving quietly and sending back a message that he's in. Their goal is simple but ruthless: to capture Yayan's younger sister to force him into submission. Outside, a team is stationed and ready to strike at a moment's notice. Everything seems to be going according to plan and the target is located. The signal is given to move now, but the moment they close in, a voice echoes through the room and Yeti appears. Yet's been expecting them all along. The ambushers don't realize it yet, but they've walked right into a trap. In a tense moment, Moen urgently speaks through a communication device, asking if anyone has caught Yayu. His voice sounds worried as he keeps calling for the second elder, hoping for a quick reply. Finally, a response comes, but it's from Yayan, who calmly says that he has captured Yayu and is bringing him back right away. For a second, it sounds like everything is under control, but then Moen grows suspicious and asks who the person is, because something feels off. Other members quickly check Yao's body and freeze in shock when they realize he's not breathing. The truth spreads fast. Something is terribly wrong. Moen yells for everyone to stay alert, realizing now that the person who claimed to have caught Yayu must have called for backup. Inside the massive Linhai base, Moen starts to question who could possibly challenge the powerful Mo family here aside from himself. Suspicion builds as he scans the area, trying to locate whoever is hiding in the shadows. Before anyone can react, a second person is silently taken down. The panic deepens when they realize this isn't just some ambush. It's someone using Shadow Assassin. The group is hit with fear, and orders are shouted for everyone to spread out and stay alert. At that moment, Yetien activates his speed talent, and his movement becomes almost impossible to track, vanishing and reappearing in an instant. Moen is stunned by the unbelievable speed in front of him. Someone tries to catch Yetien's position and sees what looks like an opening, but the moment he acts, Yetien is already gone again. His speed leaves everyone confused as their attacks are always one step too late. Darkness spreads across the area as Yayan uses Shadow Blade and starts to wipe every single enemy out there. Moen tries to contact the team above for a status update, and the fearful reply confirms that Yayan has shown up. Hearing this, Moen becomes furious and orders everyone to capture him. As the guards rush in, Yetien doesn't step back. Instead, he activates his strength talent. 2 enemies attack at once, but Yayan blocks both without effort. Everyone around him freezes in shock, and Moen can't believe Yetien took both attacks so easily. To him, Yatan was supposed to be just an elite-level martial warrior, but what he's seeing now proves otherwise, yet is clearly hiding his true power, and this isn't someone Moen can handle easily. Yet then stands calmly in front of Moen and confirms his identity, fully aware that he's facing Moha's father. Moen tries to stay composed, forcing a smile and offering peace, saying they can settle things without bloodshed if Yetien lets him live. But Yatien isn't interested in negotiations. Instead, he coldly reveals that he's the one who killed Mo Xiao. Moen doesn't explode with anger. Instead, he bows his head and agrees, calling his own son Unfil and saying, Xia must have offended Yayan, so his death was deserved. Desperation creeps into Moen's voice as he begins begging, promising money, power, anything Yatien wants, just to be spared. But Yeti isn't moved. He calmly steps forward, eyes locked on his target, and says he prefers to end problems before they grow, then finishes him right there, yet never waits to take revenge. If someone hurts his sister, he doesn't forgive and always makes sure they pay. This time, Yayan promises to wipe out the entire family. Far away, inside a grand castle-like house, an elder wonders why the 10 great elders haven't returned yet. His son tries to comfort him, saying there's no need to worry, because with the 10 elders guarding the Linhai base, nothing bad should happen. But just then, the sky flashes, and a glowing sword flies toward their home. Yayan has arrived, and he's not here to talk. Guards panic and shout, demanding to know who dares to attack their base, yet appears through the smoke and reminds them with cold clarity that they're the ones who sent people to take his life, and now they have the nerve to ask who he is. He finds it laughable because he's not here for questions. He's here to destroy them all. Fear spreads as Kang stares at Yayan, and his voice trembles as he realizes who it is. Changing demands to know why Yan is here, and what happened to the 10 great elders. Yayan answers without hesitation that he will meet the elders soon, just not in this world, but in hell. Before Kang can react, Yeti launches an immediate attack which slices through his chest. Seeing his son dead in an instant, Kang's father screams, calling Yayan a monster as his son lies lifeless before him, and his pain quickly turns into fury. He charges up a powerful move, one of their secret arts that Yayan recognizes. He's used it before to escape the deadly mighty ants, but Yayan doesn't flinch. He's seen this trick already. The elder's voice cracks with anger as he screams at Yayan, furious that his son is dead and blaming Yayan entirely. In his rage, his clothes start to rip, and the old man immediately rushes towards Yayan. Successfully, he lands a combo of punches that damages and pushes Yayan back. The old man in his Hulk form shouts that not even Yetien's ashes would be enough to calm his hatred, and swears to see him dead no matter what. Suddenly, alarms ring across Linhai base, and a loud warning spreads that an assassin has broken in. Guards rush through the halls, shouting to protect the patriarch. But Yayan remains calm, finding it amusing that they're only reacting now after he's already killed the family head. He mocks the Mo family, calling them clueless and slow, then watches as the command is given to kill him immediately. A wave of guards charges in, but before they can attack, a dark figure cuts through the crowd. A shadow assassin appears, and panic spreads fast as the guards get knocked within seconds. The elder stares in disbelief, shocked that Yayan is fighting like a top-level warrior and struggling to understand how someone so young could hold this much power. Meanwhile, Yetien keeps his focus locked on the elder, studying the hidden technique he's using and wondering how long it can keep him alive. The Ailer's fury grows with each passing second, and a battle continues with swords. But far from the battlefield, another young leader watches the fight quietly. Seeing Yatian's strength, he wonders if the Mo family brought in outside help. His guard, Elder Z, offers to step in, but the young master shakes his head. He prefers to wait and watch how this plays out on its own. Changqing shouts in frustration, shocked by Yayan's incredible speed, because every strike he throws is blocked with ease. Yet dodges again. And Changqing starts to realize this fight isn't going his way. The old man begins to panic as maintaining the secret art is draining his energy fast, while Yeti doesn't even look tired. As the pressure builds, Changqing considers calling for help from the Lin family. While his technique still holds, Yitian stays calm, mocking him and urging him to keep going. In desperation, Chongqing throws a smoke bomb and disappears into the haze, hoping to buy time or escape. But Yayan stays right on his tail. No matter how fast the old man moves, he can't shake him off because Yayan's high-tier speed talent keeps him close and matching every step. Changqing curses under his breath, realizing he hasn't made any distance at all. With no choice left, he turns to face Yeti again. Yen smirks and steps forward, ready to continue the fight. Because whether the old man runs or turns back, Yatian is more than happy to keep going and finish what was started. Changqing feels his strength fading as his secret art reaches its limit. As he trips and falls down, he knows this is the end for him and for the Mo family. Yayan prepares to strike the final blow, declaring it is time for him to meet his end. Desperate, Changqing drops to his knees and begs for his life, offering Yayan a priceless treasure and claiming it is the most valuable thing he owns. Even though Yayan gets the déjà vu vibe, he is half amused and half suspicious. So, he agrees to take a look. Changqing spawns some sort of magic ball and asks him to accept it. But as he smirks, Yayan immediately falls back. That's when the ball explodes and launches poisonous needles towards Yayan. Even though he manages to dodge it, Yayan still ends up making a minor cut on his face. The poison hidden within the item reveals just how far the Mo family is willing to go. As Changqing laughs, thinking he has finally won and the lethal poison will kill him, Yayan calmly activates his healing talent and recovers instantly. Changqing stares in disbelief, unable to understand how Yetian has so many powerful abilities. Yeti simply smirks and sends him off with a cold farewell by shooting the same needle right through the old man's chest, leaving the old man to meet his end in the afterlife. Yeyu wonders why her brother hasn't returned yet, while Captain Galewolf grumbles about feeling like her babysitter. Just then, Yeti shows up, catching the captain mid-complaint. The moment Galewolf sees him, his face lights up with relief, yet thanks him for looking after his sister, and the captain curiously asks if everything has been handled. With a calm nod, Yetian confirms that it's done, and that from this moment on, the Mo family no longer exists in the Linhai base. Galewolf reacts with surprise at how ruthless that sounds, though he's clearly impressed. Yin checks to make sure Yao is safe and that no assassins have gotten to her, and he's relieved to hear she's resting peacefully after being given a tranquilizer. With that settled, they decide to leave the cold rooftop and head back inside. As they walk, Yeti shares that he wants Yayu to begin cultivating. The idea catches Galewolf off guard, but Yeti asks if there's any way for regular people to improve their strength quickly. Galewolf laughs a little and explains that there's no shortcut like that. Real improvement only comes through heavy financial investment, which is exactly what powerful families rely on, yet is surprised by how simple the truth is. Before parting ways, the captain suggests Yayan go check on Yayu, who's resting in the bedroom upstairs. Yayan nods and heads up to see her. The moment she sees him, Yayu runs into his arms, overwhelmed with relief. She had been terrified he might not return, but now that he's back, she clings to him, her emotions pouring out. Yen gently assures her there's nothing to fear and promises he'll always stay by her side. Though still emotional, Yayu questions whether he means it, but he gives her his word without hesitation. Meanwhile, whispers begin to spread about what happened. News of the powerful Mo family being completely wiped out shocks everyone nearby. People start to wonder just how strong Yayan really is, realizing he's far more powerful than they ever imagined. Excitement stirs as the Lin family arrives. Lin Mingji, the young master, walks in confidently beside the powerful warrior Linzi, and their presence draws immediate attention. A servant rushes off to inform a lady about the guests, while others whisper about the Mo family's downfall. Quiet talk circulates about how unexpected the Mo patriarch's death was. He had once been feared and respected, yet his end came so suddenly. The conversation then shifts to the Mo family's most dangerous weapon, the Iron Pearl. This hidden treasure was known for its sinister power, capable of changing the outcome of any battle. Its range was wide, its damage deadly, and it was only ever used as a last resort for survival. Yet, despite unleashing it, the Mo family failed. Not only did their opponent Ye Tian survive, but he also turned the Iron Pearl's own gold needle against them, using it to strike down Mo Changqing. What was meant to be their secret trump card became the very weapon that led to their downfall. Rumors begin to spread after the fall of the Mo family. From the mouths of shaken survivors, one thing becomes clear. The destruction was caused by a single person. Judging by the level of devastation, his strength likely matches that of a peak great warrior, and there's little doubt about it. What unsettles everyone even more is that this powerful individual doesn't seem to belong to the Linhai base. Some begin to suspect the Iron Fang base. It's possible they orchestrated this attack on the Mo family as a show of force. The theory gains traction as a deeper concern surfaces. Earlier, the Iron Fang base proposed building a commercial trade route, but information from a spy reveals something more troubling. Near their base, a massive monster is reportedly close to evolving into a king-level threat, a creature so dangerous even the strongest warriors would fear it. If that happens, the Iron Fang base may not survive. That means this so-called trade route could just be a disguised migration path, an escape plan in case their base falls. If both bases, Linhai and Iron Fang, end up merging, it won't be a simple union. Leadership and influence will likely split between two factions, one representing the old power structure and the other bringing in new strength. At that point, even the Lin family won't be able to fully speak for itself. It will just become a symbol controlled by whichever side takes the lead. Seeing an opportunity in the Iron Fang base's sudden show of force, the Lin family decides to act swiftly and use the situation to their advantage. Orders are issued and Elder Z is quick to respond. He plans to personally deliver letters to all major families, inviting them to claim and make use of the Mo family's abandoned resources. Meanwhile, Yatan reveals a large stash of powerful elixirs. The sheer number shocks everyone, and Captain Gale Wolf believes they are worth more than entire estates. Yayu, overwhelmed by the value, questions her brother's decision and urges him to return them before getting scammed. But Yayen confidently assures everyone that the elixirs are real and incredibly valuable. To prove it, he hands one to Yayu. After taking it, she lights up in surprise, immediately feeling its effects. The mood shifts, and any doubts quickly fade as the true power of the elixirs becomes undeniable. Yayen prepares to leave once more, this time setting his sights on the thousand-leaf forest. He explains that something important is waiting for him there. With monsters becoming more dangerous, the Iron Fang base has started moving more people into Linhai base for safety, and the situation is growing more serious. Even the two grandmasters are struggling to keep the monsters at bay. Yi knows that if their defenses collapse, it could spell disaster. So for him, getting stronger isn't a choice, it's a necessity. Yayu, still emotional from his recent return, finds it hard to accept that Yayan is leaving again so soon. But he stands firm, knowing what must be done, and there's no time to waste. Yayan gently reassures her, telling her to stay focused on her training. He reminds her to take the elixirs on time and continue practicing the body training technique under the captain's guidance. Yayu no DS promises to do her best and tells Yayen to be careful, saying she'll be waiting for him at home. Ye smiles, promises to return safely, and turns to Captain Gale Wolf, entrusting Ye Yu to him. The captain confidently agrees, saying that a brother's sister is like his own sister. Just then, he announces that people from the Iron Fang base are arriving and in surprisingly large numbers. Soon after, the convoy from Iron Fang base makes a loud entrance into Linhai base, and among them is Sun Fun, known as one of the 4 great geniuses of their younger generation. He's a mid-tier elite warrior, confidently leading the way on a motorbike, and his presence draws attention immediately. People start whispering about his talent. Sun Fong's status window shows high-tier cultivation talent and mid-tier sword skills, and that combination alone puts him above most others his age. Back nearby, Yayu coughs from the dust stirred up by the convoy and grows annoyed by how flashy the entrance is because it all feels like too much. Yayen shares her unease, admitting that something about the situation gives him a bad feeling. Still, he stays calm and tells them it's time for him to head out. Yayu, worried but understanding, tells him to be safe. After that, Yayen turns away, ready to face whatever comes outside Linhai base. He steps into the thousand-leaf forest, scanning the surroundings. The place looks dry and lifeless at first glance, nothing like what its name suggests. But Yayan stays alert, looking for signs of the creature he's after. Soon he notices a massive footprint on the ground. Judging by its size and depth, it likely belongs to a black wolf panther, a beast known for its incredible speed, and finding it could help Yayan improve his own speed talent. Just then, a powerful wave of energy ripples through the air. It's intense and clearly coming from a nearby clash between monsters. Sensing a rare opportunity, Yetian quickly moves toward the source. As Yetian arrives, he sees 2 gold dragon panthers in front of him, a rare mutated breed far stronger than the black wolf panthers. They are so fast that their movements blur, clearly possessing apex-tier speed talent, exactly what Yayen is after. Their opponent is just as surprising. A massive gorilla radiating pure strength. Its aura suggests it is a high-tier monster with fighting power equal to a peak great warrior. Despite their speed, the 2 panthers struggle against the gorilla's brute force, yet watches closely, weighing his options, knowing that copying a talent in the middle of a fight this intense won't be easy. One wrong move could draw attention, or worse, put him in serious danger. Soon, Yetian sees a small golden panther running toward him. It is just a baby shining like gold, and suddenly it speaks in his mind. The little one says it wants to be his servant, and offers Yayen its light of spirit to form a bond. Yet checks its stats. It is a rare gold dragon panther with amazing talents, including extremely fast speed, strong stamina, and a bit of healing. The little panther says its parents are in danger and its mother is about to give birth to another baby. The baby panther begs Yeti to save them. After hearing this, Yan agrees and gives it a name, Little Jin. As soon as they form the bond, Yan feels a powerful energy enter his body. He copies the baby panther's top-level speed talent and fuses it immediately. With Little Jin now his pet and his speed greatly enhanced, Yen gets ready to jump into the fight and save the baby's parents, yet decides to step in, feeling confident after receiving Little Jin's powers. Since the young beast trusts him so much, it only makes sense for him to help. He quickly checks his status. With high-tier cultivation, apex-level speed and healing, solid sword and strength abilities, and even a bit of shadow talent, he's more than ready. Yayen observes the giant gorilla, looking for an opening. Instead of charging straight in, he calmly targets its weakness, its eyes. That's where Yayen strikes first. After the attack, the gorilla stumbles backward, letting out a loud roar of pain. Its body sways, arms flailing, and then it crashes to the ground with a heavy thud. The two panthers, including Little Jin's parents, look surprised. They growl and step closer to Yayan. Clearly tense and protective, Little Jin quickly runs ahead, meowing loudly to explain that Yetian isn't an enemy, yet stays calm and knows the mother panther is injured and possibly close to losing her unborn cub. Gently, he takes out a healing pill and places it near her, speaking softly and assuring her it's safe and meant to help. Little Jin meows again, and after a brief pause, the panther cautiously takes the pill. A soft meow escapes her after swallowing it. More peaceful now, as if she understands, yet watches closely, hoping the medicine starts working soon. Little Jin then tells Yen that her father also needs help, and Yani immediately understands, offering the father a healing pill as well. Little Jin thanks Yayen with a happy smile. Suddenly, the injured gorilla begins to move, trying to escape, but Yayen notices the panthers aren't letting it get away. With so much speed and strength on their side, there's no way the three apex-tier speed talents can't bring down this high-tier monster. Little Jin proudly jumps in and reminds Ye Tian that it's not just 3 fighters. She's learning to fight too, and wants to help. Yen smiles and agrees, saying she's right, and it's 4 now. Moving ahead, Yen dashes forward, surprised by how fast his new apex-tier speed talent really is. It's almost too fast to control, but he adjusts quickly and stays focused. He then switches to his strength talent, landing a full power blow on the gorilla. Meanwhile, the panthers start biting off the gorilla's tough skin. That's when Yayen charges up and punches the hell out of the gorilla. Surprisingly, the gorilla immediately stands firm and tries to attack Yayen, but he dodges. Even with that powerful hit, the beast doesn't die because its body is incredibly tough. There we see Little Jin in his insane mode. The kid immediately charges up and launches himself towards the gorilla, aiming at his head. Impressively, that attack beheads the giant gorilla. Little Jin then runs up beside Yeti and looks around with wide eyes, asking if they've won. Yen nods and says they did because the gorilla is finally down. He then glances at the two panthers, a bit amazed because he never thought he'd be fighting side by side with magical beasts. But before he can relax, he notices something worrying. The female dragon panther is hurt. Little Jin rushes to his mother in a panic. The intense battle must have hurt her internally, and she's clearly in pain. Jin calls out to her again and again, worried and unsure of what to do, yet quickly kneels beside them. Thankfully, he always carries healing medicine for emergencies like this. And without wasting any time, he takes out a special pill meant to heal internal injuries and gently offers it to the dragon panther mother. She hesitates for a moment, but then swallows it. A few seconds later, her breathing eases and her eyes soften. Little Jin turns to Yayen with relief, saying that her mom is already feeling much better, and Yayen smiles, glad she's safe for now. Just as the tension fades, Little Jin warns Yayen that danger is coming. A group of black wolf panthers appears. They are the ones who brought the gorilla here on purpose. It's clear they want to take over the forest and push out Jin's parents to become the new leaders. Watching them closely, Yeti sees their aggressive posture and knows they're here to challenge for control, but he's not going to let that happen. He steps forward and says no, he won't allow them to take the forest by force. Without waiting, Yeti jumps into battle. The fight is quick and intense, but in the end, Yetien wins, and the Black Wolf Panthers retreat, unable to match his strength. After the fight, Yetien lifts little Jin and tells all the forest creatures that from now on, Jin will be their new leader. And the others quietly accept this without resistance. Even though Jin's mother is still weak, she walks over and insists on thanking Yeti, offering him a special gift to show her gratitude. Yet is surprised because he didn't expect anything in return. As he and little Jin walk through the forest, Yetien starts to wonder how much farther they need to go. Little Jin excitedly points ahead, saying the destination is just inside the nearby cave. When they reach the spot, Yeti notices something glowing. It's a spiritual herb resting on a stone. Jin explains that this is the gift her mother promised. However, the fruit isn't ready yet, and needs 30 more days to fully ripen. Yet nods, curious about its powers, and looking forward to discovering what it can do once it's ready. Just then, sounds echo from deeper inside the cave, yet encourages Jin's mother to push as it's the moment of birth. A small cry rings out, and the baby panther is born, healthy and strong. Seeing this, Yetien beams with pride and declares that a new ruler has just been born into their forest. A month passes, and the moment Yayen has been waiting for finally arrives. As he approaches the spiritual herb, a sweet, rich scent fills the air. He can tell right away that it's ripe. Excited, little Jin urges him to eat it quickly, jumping around with anticipation, yet laughs, amused by Jin's energy, and takes a bite of the glowing fruit. Suddenly, something strange happens, yet starts to feel weird, and he immediately passes out. Later, as he wakes up, Yeti's head hurts, and a surge of power rushes in. He grabs his head, feeling a strange new awareness growing inside him. It's not just any power, yet realizes he's gained a mental ability, a skill usually only accessible to powerful martial warriors. Yet here he is, still at elite warrior level, and already able to control it with ease. Yet closes his eyes for a moment, focusing as his talent detection range expands instantly, allowing him to sense talents from up to 50 m away. Even more shocking, he discovers that he can now copy talents without even touching anyone. Just sensing them through the air is enough. Later, Yeti sees a message asking if he wants to fuse the mid-tier endurance talent. He thinks about it for a moment, but decides against it because endurance isn't that helpful right now, and his main focus is improving his cultivation talent. With everything settled, Yeti gets ready to head home. This trip gave him a lot of power, growth, and even something unexpected. He smiles, feeling satisfied. As he prepares to leave, Yetien turns to the panther family and thanks them for the spiritual fruit because it helped him greatly. Just as he's about to say goodbye, little Jin suddenly meows and jumps forward because she doesn't want to stay behind and wants to go with Yayen. He chuckles and agrees, telling her there's someone he wants her to meet, someone who will definitely like little Jin a lot. She beams with joy, meowing happily and thanking her master. Their journey together is just beginning. Little Jin looks around with wide eyes, amazed by everything she sees, because the outside world feels completely new to her and has so many things she's never seen before. Yet reminds her to be careful, saying the outside world isn't just exciting, it's also full of danger. Soon they arrive at the 5th Academy, but something feels off. Yet suddenly spots Zhang Bao collapsed and badly injured. Shocked, Yatan rushes over to him, asking what happened. Zhang Bao weakly recognizes him, and Yatian feels relief because Zhang Bao is still alive. Without wasting time, Yatian pulls out high-tier monster blood and gives it to him to help restore his energy. Whatever happened here is serious, and Yayan knows he has to be ready for anything next. He's shocked to hear that the people who robbed Zhang Bao were actually warriors from the Iron Fang base. Zheng Bao explains that the base was completely destroyed by monsters and around 100,000 survivors escaped to Linhai base. Yayan quickly asks who's in control now, and Zheng Bao tells him the Lin family is technically still in charge, but in reality they've lost all real power and are just figureheads now. Yayan realizes this is exactly what he expected, because the Iron Fang survivors have quietly taken over. Zhang Bao adds that the situation in the base is getting worse by the day. Robbers are everywhere, and chaos is spreading fast. Yeyu and Captain Gale Wolf are training together. Yeyu sigh in frustration after losing another round, but Gale Wolf encourages her, saying she's improving fast and has real talent. Yeyu humbly replies that it's only because of his good teaching. Suddenly, she spots someone approaching, and it's her brother Yeti. She runs to him, shouting with excitement, and Yeti laughs, telling her she's way too excited. Just then, little Jin pops out, and Yayu's eyes light up when she sees the small golden panther. She immediately rushes over to greet it, calling it cute. Yayan introduces the pet as Little Jin, and she happily repeats the name, playing with the creature, surprising Yayan when she gives more attention to the pet than to him. Gale Wolf laughs and teases Yayan that he's been replaced by a kitten. After seeing the captain, Yetian thanks him for looking after his sister, and Gale Wolf proudly says that Yayu has already become a martial apprentice thanks to her hard work. As their talk shifts, Gale Wolf brings up something serious and asks if Yayan has heard about the Iron Fang base starting to invade Linhai base. Yeti already knows about the invasion, but asks anyway if anything happened while he was gone. Gale Wolf reassures him that everything at home has remained safe. After Yeti left, a girl named Xiao Yu visited and left behind a martial pavilion token. She said that anyone from the Iron Fang base would think twice before causing trouble once they saw it. Hearing this, Yeti is quietly impressed by her gesture. Gale Wolf then brings up something more serious. A man named Sun Feng has been coming around repeatedly, challenging Yayan to a death match. That name instantly sparks Yayan's memory. He had checked Sun Feng's talents before and remembers that he is one of the top 4 geniuses of the Iron Fang base. Since entering the city, Sun Feng has been defeating elite martial warriors one after another without a single loss. Gale Wolf warns Yetian not to take him lightly because Sun Feng isn't someone ordinary. But Yayan, rather than being alarmed, stays calm, and the situation only sharpens his focus. In fact, he finds the challenge intriguing. Sun Feng arrives on his motorcycle, parking it with a loud screech that turns heads. And without wasting time, he confirms Yayan's identity, saying he's been waiting for this moment. Yeti simply nods. After that, Sununfang announces the reason for his visit. He challenges Yen to a duel set for 10 o'clock the next morning at Mingui Plaza. The terms are clear. A battle with a bronze-rank blade skill on the line. Sunfang leans forward slightly and dares Yayan to show up. As Sunfang speaks, Yetian activates his hidden ability. A wave of energy rushes past him, and he successfully copies Sunfang's high-tier cultivation talent without anyone noticing. With a small smile, Yayan responds confidently and accepts the challenge without hesitation, making it clear that he's not afraid. After hearing this, Sunfeng gives a turn to leave, his bike engine roaring as he speeds away. Yayan watches him disappear into the distance, ready for what's coming. Someone behind Yetian calls out in frustration, warning him that his decision was way too impulsive, and he is convinced that with Sun Feng's power, Yetian doesn't stand a chance. But Yetian stays calm and quietly replies that the outcome isn't so certain. Moving ahead, his status window appears again, and his abilities are already impressive. High-tier cultivation talent, apex-tier speed, mid-tier sword skill, novice-level shadow skill, apex-tier healing, and high-tier strength. But Yayan isn't done yet, and since he already has one high-tier cultivation talent, he decides to stack another one, aiming for something even stronger. With full confidence, Yetian chooses to copy the talent again. The moment he confirms, his cultivation talent upgrades to apex tier. Now, with his stats reaching incredible levels, Yayan smiles slightly because the thought of tomorrow's duel doesn't worry him at all anymore. In fact, he's actually looking forward to it. At Mingo Plaza, a crowd starts to gather and everyone's talking about the duel as Sun Fong picks yet another new dueling spot, just like he always does. So far, he hasn't lost a single match. People in the crowd gossip about his next opponent, and most don't even recognize the name. Some assume Yayan is just an unknown kid, while others vaguely remember hearing about him, but still dismiss him as a nobody. They wonder why someone like Sun Fun would even bother challenging someone so ordinary. A few suspect that Yetian isn't the real target at all, that it's the Lin family's influence. Every time Sun Fong wins, he damages a family's merit monument, and today seems no different. He's not just fighting individuals, he's chipping away at the reputation of the powerful families in Lin High Base. A huge crowd surrounds the plaza with all eyes locked on the stage. Yayu stares in shock at the size of the gathering and whispers that it's noisier and more crowded than she expected. Captain Gale Wolf, standing beside her, explains that Sun Fong always turns his duels into public spectacles to boost his reputation by making sure everyone sees him win. Yayu grows anxious because with this many people, reaching her brother feels impossible. She hesitates and suggests they leave. Admitting the duel feels dangerous, and she's scared for Yayan. But Yayan stays calm, looks her in the eye with confidence, and promises that everything will be fine and he'll be right back. All eyes turn to the center as Yayan steps forward, and whispers ripple through the crowd as people realize this is the one Sun Fong challenged. Many seem surprised, clearly expecting someone more intimidating. Sun Fong looks unimpressed and admits he didn't think Yayan would actually show up. The terms are set. Sun Fong offers a bronze-ranked sword skill called Current Blade as the wager, saying Yayan can take it if he wins. In response, Yayan pulls out his own bronze-rank skill, Shadow Blade, since it matches the same level. Sun Fong glares at the offer, finding Yayan's confidence almost insulting. To him, it feels like arrogance. Just as the match is about to begin, Yayu shouts in panic, warning her brother to be careful. The duel is seconds from starting, and everyone is watching. The duel begins with Sun Fong charging forward, striking first with his sword. But Yayan's speed catches everyone off guard as he moves so fast it's hard to follow. Yeti keeps his distance, calmly dodging each slash with perfect timing. Sun Fong grows irritated and mocks him, comparing him to a rat just running around to avoid the fight. Before he can say more, Yeti counters with a powerful punch that lands clean, sending Sun Fong flying across the stage. The crowd gasps, stunned as the one they expected to lose turns the tables with a single blow. Yayan stands tall and focused, asking if he still seems like a rat now. Sun Fong slowly gets back on his feet, wiping blood from his lip. The smirk fades from his face, replaced by determination, and he admits Yayan is stronger than expected, but promises that this time he won't hold back, and the real fight starts now. As the crowd watches in silence, Sun Fong roars with anger and unleashes Windlash, a fast and powerful sword move aimed straight at Yayan, also slicing a portion of the Lin family's merit monument in the background. Shocked voices rise from the crowd, outraged that he dared to damage a symbol of honor just to win. But Yeti doesn't flinch. With incredible precision, he dodges the incoming attack with ease, and his calm expression never changes. Seeing this, Sun Fong's frustration grows as he struggles to understand how Yatian is still completely untouched. Then, Yetian casually admits something that makes the entire crowd stir. He wasn't even taking the duel seriously. He reveals that he dragged out the fight just to observe and learn Windlash, and that was all he wanted. Yayan makes it clear that Sun Fong was never seen as a real threat, just a stepping stone to gain something useful. For Yayan, the duel wasn't a test of strength, but a simple demonstration. Furious, Sun Fong charges forward with one final desperate strike, but in a flash, Yayan ends the battle with a single clean move. He basically breaks his sword with a mere punch and slashes Sunun Fong's face to the ground, and it's over. Yayan turns away without another word because to him, the fight wasn't even worth the effort. The crowd erupts into cheers the moment Sunun Fong hits the ground. Everyone stares at Yatian in awe, praising his unbelievable strength. Some shout that he's destined for greatness, while others admire how easily he defeated one of the top talents from Iron Fang Base. Right after, Yahello rushes over, barely able to believe how strong her brother has become. Her admiration is heartfelt, and she eagerly begs him to teach her once they get home. Yet laughs it off at first, but her excitement brings a genuine warmth to his heart. Meanwhile, the Lin family stands in silent shock as their merit monument lies in ruins, a symbol of their honor shattered during the duel. Even though Yetian claimed victory, the Lin family knows they've lost something important. Their young master gives a quiet command, telling the guards there's no need to protect him anymore. Instead, he instructs them to watch over Yeti's sister, fully aware of what's likely to happen next. The Sun family won't accept this humiliation without retaliation. They'll come back, and this time, Yeti's sister might be the one they target. Back at Captain Gale Wolf's home, Yetian sits on the couch deep in thought about the Wind Cutter ability, which can make any attack 6 times stronger. He lets out a long yawn and sets aside the book he's been reading all night. Getting up, he walks over to the window and opens his status window, only to realize that there are still 30 days left before he can copy another ability. Yan mutters a curse under his breath, but quickly calms himself, knowing there's no choice but to wait out the cooldown. Once it's over, he can move forward with his plan to copy Sun Fong's superior-level swordsmanship talent. Doing so would instantly boost him by 2 levels, pushing him into the Grandmaster rank. Yet nods to himself, reminding that any martial artist aiming to stay on top needs that level of power. Meanwhile, in a quiet back alley, Yahello is practicing her swordsmanship against a training dummy. Her strikes sharp and focused. Captain Gale Wolf stands at a distance, watching in silence. He's lost in thought, worried that even though the competition is over, the Sun family, with all their influence, won't let things slide. If they do seek revenge, he fears for Yahello's safety. After a while, Yahello, tired and breathless, stops and takes a long drink from her water bottle. She notices the captain staring and asks why he's looking at her like that. Snapped out of his thoughts, Gale Wolf blushes slightly, realizing he was lost in his worries, and tells her to come over. As Yahello walks up to him, curious, he hands her a cross-shaped amulet and quietly asks her never to take it off. Yuya looks at the cross-shaped amulet and finds it beautiful as she asks her captain what it is. He tells her it's an amulet and insists that she must never take it off. Yuya nades seriously and promises to protect it no matter what. Meanwhile, a woman with a confident stride jogs down the sidewalk, turning the corner of the house. As she spots Yuya and the captain, she calls out to him and says she has some news. The captain asks if it's something new about the Sun family. At the same time, an old man in a wide-brimmed hat is seen throwing trash into a bin. His aura is grim, and the shadow from his hat covers his face. A month passes, and that same old man is seen again tossing garbage into another bin just as Yayan exits a nearby building. Yayan walks down the street casually munching on some snacks when he passes by the man. Suddenly, Yayan's spiritual pressure flares slightly, causing the old man to sweat nervously. He struggles to understand how someone like Yeti can already control spiritual energy, something typically only accessible to top-tier martial artists. Yen calmly pulls up his hoodie, covering his face as he thinks to himself that having a martial spy stationed outside his place proves that the Lin family is paying far too much attention to him. Eventually, he reaches the martial market and quietly reflects on the Sun family. They have long practiced inbreeding across generations to preserve the purity of their swordsmanship talent, and any babies born with conditions like dementia or other disabilities were quietly eliminated in secret. This shows just how twisted the Sun family truly is. Yayan arrives at a store owned by the Sun family where Mr. Sun is present, cheerfully announcing that to celebrate their grand opening, they're offering a 50% discount to all customers today. A gentleman steps forward to congratulate Mr. Sun and offers his blessings, wishing for the business to flourish. The people entering the store thank Mr. Sun warmly and share in the celebration. But then Yatin comes around the corner with a cold expression, and as he walks forward, his hand begins to spark with energy. Purple electricity crackles around his fingers and spreads outward, surrounding him with a fierce aura. He offers his own kind of congratulations, not for the store's opening, but for what he calls Mr. Sun's last day to live. Without hesitation, Yetian copies Mr. Sun's ability, and in that moment, his swordsmanship talent upgrades to the superior level. After absorbing Mr. Sun's ability, Yetian heads to the graveyard where his parents are buried. He brings a bouquet of flowers and sits quietly at their graves, speaking to them with a gentle tone. He tells them that he and his sister Ya-Yu will soon be leaving the seaward base, and before departing, he wanted to visit them one last time to say goodbye. With a small smile, he adds that they would be proud of him if they could see how far he's come. Suddenly, he senses something rapidly approaching. In a flash, a figure appears, standing silently on a nearby tombstone. It's an assassin, clearly sent to kill him, and his killing intent fills the air, yet instantly reacts, summoning his blade and turning to meet the threat. The assassin lunges with his own weapon, and their blades clash in a shower of sparks. The assassin remarks that Yayen must really be something if he managed to defeat Sun Fong, yet irritated, realizes who he's facing. It's one of the Sun family's lapdogs. He tells the man that he's been expecting him for some time. With a sharp parry, Yayen knocks him back. The assassin keeps talking, boasting that Yayen should be grateful for being allowed to live for a whole month when he could have been killed right after the tournament. Tired of the talk, Yayen tells him to shut up and save the nonsense, then dashes forward at high speed. Their weapons clash again and sparks fly through the graveyard as their battle begins in full force. The number of slashes flying through the air is no joke. As both fighters keep exchanging blow after blow, each clash more intense than the last. But in the middle of all this chaos, Yayen notices something that makes his expression darken. The bouquet he brought for his parents has been damaged. That alone is enough for him to push his opponent far away with a powerful strike. The lapdog stumbles back but keeps talking, revealing that he was Sun Feng's first teacher and that their bond was like that of a father and son. Yayen, unfazed by the emotional story, ignores him and calmly walks over to pick up the bouquet. He gently approaches his parents' grave, silent and steady, while the lapdog mocks him again, saying that since they're already in a graveyard, it's the perfect place to bury him. He even offers to dig the grave himself if Yata kneels and begs for mercy. Still, Yayan says nothing and quietly places the bouquet beside the grave. But the lapdog crosses the line when he threatens to kill Yayan's sister, claiming she'll soon be joining him in hell. That's when something inside Yayan finally snaps. He stomps the ground, shattering it beneath him as anger pours from his eyes like a raging storm. Without a word, he activates his top-tier speed talent and vanishes from sight. In the blink of an eye, he reappears with a devastating kick straight into the lapdog's gut, sending him flying. Jotun doesn't stop there. He dashes forward, grabs the man midair by his hoodie, and hurls him toward a nearby mountain. The lapdog crashes violently, the impact kicking up dust and rocks as his body lies motionless, barely able to grip his weapon. He hears footsteps drawing closer, his blurred vision catching Yeti's figure approaching. In that moment, he finally understands that Yayen is already at the level of a grandmaster, though his pride still struggles to accept it. But none of it matters now, as his eyes close for the last time, and his story ends right there. Yayen sits beside the lifeless body, his expression calm as he picks up the weapon known as Sword Veil, a rare swordsmanship manual hidden within the lapdog's blade. As he examines the weapon, he quickly notices that its stats far surpass those of the sword he had been using. Without hesitation, he switches them out, securing the stronger weapon for himself. Looking around, Yeti realizes that night has fallen and the sky is already cloaked in darkness. Knowing he stayed out too long, he quickly makes his way down the mountain, fully aware that if he's late again, he'll be facing a battle he can't win. His sister waiting at home with questions and complaints that no sword can parry. Yeti returns to the city and encounters the old man again who is sweeping the street,